make sure.
Immediately goes down. I was having such a rough time when I was trying to do that unboxing.
I know. That would have been bigger than curly fries if you'd better get it all in that one.
Yeah.
If you'd always people, but hey, it still did great. I saw that your chat with Neil hit the 1,000 mark today.
Oh, did it? Very good. Very good.
And your talk with 10 mark, which was also very good, is doing quite well. We had a gangbuster week. We've got to remember to talk about the videos tonight because we went.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Coco thing. Hey,
Neil.
There it is. We were just talking about you, Neil. Neil, I really enjoyed the last part of your Aquarius series. And I also pitied you. Did you watch that yet?
I have not seen it yet.
So Neil gets a bunch of blank tapes for the Aquarius. This is the Aquarius. So just doing anything on a peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to load games off of. He's like, what the heck's going on? And he pulls out the thing so you can hear what's on the tape. And they're playing like disco. I was like, yes. It was so perfect. Hey, Dunk.
Do you have an old like shoebox style cassette recorder?
Now, if you said, do you have an old shoebox style power supply? I'm your boy.
I know you've got one of those.
That'll be in here. Oh, Neil. Come on, I grew up with that computer, man. Not really. I was very polite to this poor Aquarius owners. It's never the age of Aquarius. Trust me. Trust me. That is the embodiment of like, this is a toy computer. A toy. Wait, do I have a shoe?
Can I do anything? That's interesting. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. So, anyway.
Okay.
I want to.
You don't have a cassette deck of your own here?
No. In fact, I thought I had one and it was broken. So, what I need, and it has to be a mono deck.
Yeah, I know exactly what you need.
It needs to look like that, except be.
That one doesn't work, or that one's exclusive to
Right.
C64. I think I've got one of those. Ironically. What about the Atari decks? Would they work?
Yeah. I think actually no, they won't because they don't have. They've got another proprietary cable at the end.
It's funny. The Coco deck, it would have worked great because it didn't have any cable. It just had the holes.
Yeah, that's what I need.
But I don't have a deck.
I saw one on Radio Shack. Somebody wanted $60 for one.
Yeah.
I passed.
Well, after a while, we just used my boombox for a while, but we used the crap out of that Coco one for years. Hey, 10 Mark, what's going on, dude? Speaking sign language. I don't think I have one, but and my mom and dad could have one because they got a bunch of old crap. So I'll look around. And if you told me today, I could have went to the Hillbilly Flea Market, and I guarantee I could have picked one
There's
up.
probably a couple of those floating around.
Yeah, they got tape decks to beat VCRs to beat the band. They got plenty of those things. So.
But and we've got that C64. Now, do you have a spare working C64?
I don't have any C64s.
You've got your Kira special.
But it's not. That's a Raspberry Pi.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a C64 body.
Yeah, but to do what?
Oh, I don't know. You're the one that made it.
No, I'm asking you. Why do you ask?
Oh, because we've got this C64 tape player that our buddy just sent us, and a whole bunch of C64s.
Now, John has a working C64.
I know, but that's his only one, and that's
I think
his
he's
baby.
got two now.
Well,
I think we got two of them working. Why, are you looking to buy one, borrow one?
Yeah, I mean, this guy just sent us literally 50 C64 tapes.
Well,
so
the C64 that I've got doesn't work.
Okay, well that's fine.
It's now hold the phone. I do have that crazy. It's crazy that C64 that's modified for that hard drive. I haven't tried it yet.
Oh, that thing?
Yeah, I haven't tried it.
Okay.
Might be something. I'll bring the whole drive over.
Yeah.
It weighs more than my car. I had to get a flatbed truck to pick this thing up.
That's crazy.
That hard drive. I can't find any video on eBay or eBay. Oh, I can't put eBay on eBay. What am I doing wrong?
All right, Dad. Listen.
I got on the Twitter machine to get some help. No, I can't find anybody that knows much about these Commodore 64 hard drives that has shot a bunch of video. What would be awesome is before I sell it for the big money, which inevitably it will draw, and I am selling it because I got nowhere to keep it. It would be awesome to shoot video of it like sort of working.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from what I've read, the drives in this, they predate. These are literally, there could be small people in there with quills writing down the information.
Yeah.
That's why I was explaining why it's so heavy. It's like a fleet of those guys. But it would be nice to have video of this thing attempting to work.
Right.
You know, so we could do a ton of different stuff at Computer Club.
I mean, I think we need to pick one of those four ideas.
That's my point.
Yeah.
We've got a million things. We've got Computer Club stuff to beat the band.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to have a series of Computer Clubs, maybe once a month.
I was going to say we could do Computer Club twice a month.
Oh my God, no. Once a month, because once is because you anticipate it.
That's true.
Twice,
you do.
Twice is too much. So we go. Hey, Zod.
Hey, Roushie MSX. Will your were those will PAL tapes work on an NTSC machine? I didn't even think about that. I don't know much about tapes.
Well, the C64 has RF out and. Wait. What does it have?
C64 no, it's got the same as the Atari.
Yeah, it's got the wacky plug out.
Yeah.
This shows you how often I've gotten my working one to work. Never. You know.
Yeah, I've got no issues connecting the C64 to a monitor.
Really? So we okay.
It's this exact same cable as the Atari.
Well, maybe we'll do a little side gimmick next Friday. We'll try to see if we can get at least one of them working here on this. I mean, not during the show, but we'll do something and maybe we can use that, or you can borrow it for a while, before I make the big money. It's funny because I've had 4 C64s. I sold one and it worked, ironically. Then I've got the 2. One of them used to work, but it had no sound, and one of them never worked, and now both of them don't work. Because the one that worked but didn't have sound, I gave a chip to John to fix one of his, which didn't work. But now it's working, so I think he's got maybe 2 that work. I'll have to ask him. Yeah, if he pops in, we'll ask.
Like I said, that my only concern is the PAL thing. You know, if the NTSC C64 can handle the PAL code from the tape.
It probably can. Well, I'm sure it will. What the hell? Maybe it'll be like the Amiga, just to be slightly down. That'll be nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
It's funny when I put.
Well. Yeah.
We're back.
Feel free to point that out every single time it happens, because I can do tons of stuff to fix it.
Sorry, fine. I'll just sit here and just let you be oblivious.
Sounds good.
Now, don't you be nasty today, because I can feel it already. I knew when I walked through the door, I was like, I'm going to be careful. And like his boat, he's on the ragged edge. Aren't you? You are.
No.
Yes, he is.
No.
Watch out, guys.
Okay.
He's going to get nasty. Okay, now, I watched your playthrough of this game, this first game.
It's a bad sign that I constantly have to remind myself what the name of this game is.
I watched your playthrough after I'd played it for the week. I watched it today. There were parts of the playthrough. I mean, I shouldn't laugh at your antics. But
you can.
I
That's
like
what I'm
watching
here for.
it. You get frustrated, and the thing is, this was a few times where no one in chat could help you.
Right.
So for the longest time, as you were trying to leave that first level,
yeah,
I just
it was
watched.
horrifying.
I was like, let's see how long this takes. And I looked at the timer, and I was like, yeah, that's taking a while.
Yeah, we can talk about that for sure, because I got things to say. Except I need to look up what our next our Sinclair game is.
You know, when we heard we were playing Popeye this week, boy, was I excited.
Don't talk about it yet.
I'm not. I'm just saying, I was excited.
That's not the right set of weeks.
Oh, there you go. C64 PAL games will play a little faster.
Okay, I can handle a little faster.
And slightly slower the other way around. We're used to that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Everything in America is super fast. And West Virginia is the fastest there is.
Hey, the lights never go out in West Virginia.
There aren't that many.
No.
That's why it's easy to keep. Plus, we just burned some coal.
Looks like.
You're gonna say, is that the next one I would have died?
Yeah, Chucky Egg.
Oh, okay. Hey, what did we play that on back in the? We put a. You remember when we did that on ARG?
Yeah, what did we do that? Oh, it's a BBC
Was
Micro.
was it the Micro?
Yeah.
That's their big game, and then
Yeah.
that or Elite.
All right, I need to write this down. Then we'll start.
Is that our next like 5 games I'm looking at here? All right, it's fun. I'm just how ironic or how coincidental the 5th one is there.
Frank Bruno's boxing.
Hey, listen, that would be great for me because I could get into some boxing history. Man. I'll really make people mad over there. Hey, right now some of the most skilled pugilists on earth come from the lovely.
You had that tall
lovely
guy.
Shores of the UK. There's a big boxing match this week, and sadly, I can't remember the fella's name. So that shows you how much I've been watching boxing here recently. What's up, Daz? What up, Daz?
Little note from me.
Good Lord. I've seen shorthand, I've seen longhand, but I don't know what that was.
Hey, I wanted to write it fast.
It looked like you wrote it with your foot, like a pencil that stuck to your toes.
I told you on the Discord how I cared about penmanship. Don't forget it.
Yeah, you really put that to the test. What language was that? Is that Thai?
Okay, so we're ready.
Ooh, Sam's Journey. I've heard about that. Picard, make it so. And everyone, Tragard. Yeah, put the kid to bed, man. We'll be here.
Tragard is a new father.
I know.
He's a new dad. Congratulations,
yeah,
Tragard.
well done, sir. Joust, tremendous.
All right. Oh, okay, guys. If you if you are a you might want to adjust your volume because I'm gonna be cranking this thing up. Just get ready.
Crank it up to 11, boat.
All right.
Why was it so low?
The mics are funny. Sometimes like they'll be super sensitive, and then sometimes not. Give me a hearty ho.
Ho 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 ho.
Okay, that's great. All right.
Mics are funny. Bees make honey.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that song?
Yeah,
I love
that was
that
Peaches and Herb.
No, it was not.
Who was
I
it?
love to change the world. Remember that song? No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll give you a class. It's got one of the great guitar solos of all time in it.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry we were down, but now we're back up. Okay, here we go. We're starting the show. I've got the paper on the right side.
Got the paper on the right-hand side.
Globdule. It's like a microphone test.
I've got something to say about that. So always before you start, so we're gonna go cunning intro.
Right.
Wacky the Dreamcatcher article.
Oh yeah. Let me go ahead and make sure that all our screens are working. Nope. Oh yeah. Yep, they are. And the mics are working.
Bo will be receiving it this weekend, Daz. It's going to be happening. Boat's very excited, aren't you, Boat?
Absolutely.
Let me get my
game.
It's almost like I just forgot how we do everything.
Okay, so you were running through the show.
Running on. So anyway, cunning intro.
Right.
Site news.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got a new way to do it.
You're right.
Now.
You're right. I apologize.
Okay.
Site news. Then news.
News. No, wait. I thought news came after the main event. Then news.
No.
You changed it to that.
No, we've never done news after the main event.
Then I'm talking the video come after the main event. So it's new. It goes.
Dreamcatcher. Just call it Dreamcatcher.
Regular news. Then the big game. Then the video news.
Right.
And then your tune.
Right.
I got it.
You got it.
How long we been doing this?
I don't know. A couple weeks.
This just popped up. What is today? Oh, we covered that already, didn't we?
That one's a new one.
Is that the new one?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even see that one. It must have slipped past me. Oh, he's talking about ARG. You ever play that? And Rampage. Yeah, well, these are movie monster stuff. Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
We'll give it that one.
Dasley, Aaron is picking it up this weekend, and then he's going to deliver it to my door because it is mine.
That's the way I spell my name in like Welch or something.
Yeah, it is.
With the E in there. It sounds more...
You got to put that little O on top of the E2 and then a couple dots right up top.
See, our names are so plain.
Yeah.
Although Kevin, 2 vowels right at the beginning, that gets me over.
Oh, yeah.
In the motherland.
It gets you over in the phone book.
It does. It does.
Okay, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Globdule.
Do we have to call it that?
It sounds like something that's like an expectorant.
Sounds like something you'd hawk up or your cat would leave on the floor. You know?
Vocabulary is not your strong suit, is it? That's what an expectorant is.
Expectorant? Who says that?
Doctors.
Do I look like a doctor to you?
A little bit.
Well.
Dr. Demento. You know, let's not beat around the bush.
All right.
The protagonist in this game is a blob. Okay.
Yeah, he is.
Now, the blob is most of the time the blob is the bad guy. Okay.
Oh, not on the Amiga, where he
Well,
comes up again and again.
That's true. As the lazy animator's way out of a platformer. But where do you think the blob stands in the great pantheon of 50s B-movie horror films?
I gotta tell you, I have not seen any 50s blob movies. I know they exist, but I've not seen any. Now, when I think of like really creepy blobs, did you ever? Because I think about that a lot. I just sit around pondering creepy blobs in my spare time. Did you ever see? I know you have it. There's a movie called Creep Show. You ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Is that does it have the Crypt Keeper in it?
No. Creep Show is a movie. That was a bunch of short Stephen King horror pieces.
I vaguely remember
anthology
this.
film. Well, they made a sequel called Creep Show 2. All right. And in Creep Show 2, there's this big called, the very first thing they have is called The Raft. It's about a bunch of sexy teens that are jacking around this lake. All right, they break into this lake, the Forbidden Lake. They're going to go some skinny dipping, some sweet action. And there's this black tar that's floating around the lake. They're like, man, screw that tar.
Probably okay.
The tar, not amused. He comes over and starts wreaking havoc on these teens and eating them.
Wow.
Because it's a blob. It's a tar blob.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably the closest I
now,
can
hold
think
on
of
a
to
second.
a tar.
This thing is called The Raft?
Yeah, that's because or maybe it was the name or the dock, something. But anyway, it takes place at this lake.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I was thinking it would be about a man-eating raft.
No. It's a weird blob, and not to spoil this movie, but at the end, so it eats everybody. All right, they're all screwed. I think they're stuck on a raft in the middle of this lake, and they can't get away. So this one sexy teen, he makes a break for it, right? And he's swimming. In the meantime, the thing's eating some other sexy teens. It's distracted.
Yeah.
So it turns around and starts blobbing its way over this guy. This guy's hauling butt. And he makes it to the shore. And he's like, yeah, I'm the man. And this thing tidal waves him. Oh! He didn't realize the blob could, jump or whatever, and got him. That was it. So. Yeah.
What do you think, Creep Show versus Creep Show 2? Which one is creepier?
Creep Show 1 is your better Creep Show. Leslie Nielsen is a bad guy. Can't be bad. So yeah, I like Creep Show. Good stuff. Stephen King's had a very funny bit in it too. He actually acts in it.
Oh. I can't believe you haven't seen The Blob.
It's just, the 50s stuff, the giant ants.
Is that not your bag?
Night of the Lepus. I've seen a lot of that stuff in like Mystery Science Theater form, but it's not like I've watched a ton of it.
When I used to go to the St. Albans Library and hang out there, they had...
Wait a minute. You went and hung out at the library?
Yeah.
Doing what?
Well, my grandparents used to live in St. Albans.
Right.
So we used to walk right down College Hill where they lived and go to the library.
Okay.
And so they had these novelized versions of these 50s horror films.
Someone noveled those up?
Yeah. And so they had pictures. I mean, there weren't a lot of words. The plot was not too deep of these things, but I did read The Blob. And as far as I could tell, The Blob was not especially fast moving or menacing. I'm not sure how The Blob managed to capture as many people as it did.
It sneaks because blobs don't make no noise.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Air resistance.
You don't read comic books. There's a guy in the comics called The Blob. He's a big, huge, fat guy. Yeah.
Does he make a lot of noise?
Oh, yeah. He's kind of a loud jerk type.
So he's a different kind of blob.
He's a human blob. He's just imagine a big, tall, fat guy.
I don't have to imagine,
Just pretend I was like, Murr, and his bit that nothing moves the blob. You ever play that X-Men arcade game? He's in that.
Does he say nothing moves the
blob?
He
says that's what he says.
That's pretty crazy. So, Aaron, let's talk about this week. What's been going on everythingamiga.com? What's Dreamcatcher been up to?
It's funny that we had this conversation because he's got a bit this week. Attack of the Clones, he calls it, as he will. One of his wackier things is he comes up with these crazy names. So, looking through this, this popped up when I wasn't looking, but it looks like he's going into, guess what, crazy monster movie video games.
Oh, okay.
And then he goes into the game ARG, which, have you ever played ARG? I've heard of ARG.
Is it a Rampage clone?
I've not played it. I don't know what it is. I've never seen it before. I've heard about it, but I've never seen it. But he does mention a few other things that I do enjoy, which is Rampage, which is a great game. Me and the boy play the crap out of the Rampage sequel.
On the N64, Rampage World Tour.
That one. Well, it was also in the arcade. The N64 version has like a bunch of extra guys in it that you can pick up. The kid loves it. And his big thing, he likes eating people. And he likes it when one monster kicks the other monster low. He thinks that's hilarious. So at the end of every level, I could expect him to come up and nail me.
He got that from Primal Rage.
Well, he likes that too. He actually is a big fan of that game back when he was a little baby. So, anyway, this has got the usual dream catch of death. This art looks pretty good, Boat. Giant monster fighting, and with lots of different backgrounds. So we might have to check into this, man. This looks real good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've not played it, but I like giant monster stuff. Again, not film-wise, but video game-wise, I'm down.
You're not a fan of the Mothra or anything like that.
Well, when it comes now, you're talking Japanese stuff. I have seen a lot of that. Godzilla.
Are there American giant monster movies?
Well, I mean, yeah. There's like giant, like Spider Island, and yeah, it's got William Shatner. William Shatner's in that.
Spider Island.
Yeah, and then you've got the giant lizard. You've got that, and you've got the bunnies, Nidhalepus, the giant. There's a giant grasshopper. I can't remember that.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking it was called Locust or something.
No, I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't Locust. It was there might be one just called Locust. And then it's funny because after the '60s they transitioned into like piranhas, sharks.
Yeah.
There weren't. I mean, they were.
Well, the plot of all these movies was that there was some sort of fallout from a thermonuclear blast that caused the mutation that caused something small to become giant. When that was no longer as much on people's minds, they had to move on to the new terrifying thing. Killer.
And a lot of times in the '70s, it was the eco concerns. You have killer piranhas and fish, and stuff like that. You ever seen a bunch of piranhas, like in a tank?
Yeah. Well, no, not really.
They're mean looking, man.
I've seen Singular. They've got the teeth.
Yeah, they look mean, man. I've seen a tank full of them.
Have you seen that movie called?
Yes, I have seen that.
I saw that when I was a kid, and that movie is.
It scared the crap out of me. That's a little heavy for you. Even young Bo must have been petrified.
Well, just like you always say, back in the day when there wasn't as much to watch, you watched what was on. Yeah, and that was what was on.
It's funny. I had a well, I guess you could call it a party, but it's more like a sad, middle-aged, liquored-up gathering. That'd be a better way to put it.
It sounds like Computer Club.
And it was way sadder because we watched on TV in its entirety. Just looked at it like, what are we seeing here? It was actually pretty interesting. I mean, sort of.
Turns into a snake.
Yeah.
Like it's all
That's
scaly.
what he wanted.
Yeah.
And then he got got. He got got.
Who says you can't get what you want?
No. There you go. That's lovely. Move on. God.
Let's talk about what's been going on in the wider world of Amiga news this week, Aaron.
In the world of what?
Amiga news.
There it is. All right, we're ready.
So, in the world of Amiga news, Aaron.
It's been crazy this week.
We have gotten quite a bit of news.
Oh, yeah. We got a ton this week.
The first story comes in from our man, Neil Mansell. Not that Neil Mansell, the other one.
There's several hundred Neil Mansell.
Yeah. He is the former author of the Kickstart magazine that we hosted for a time on our site.
Yes.
And he is
we
back.
We love this guy. He's great.
He's back with a new publication. If you go to neilmansellauthor.co.uk/name-the-mag, you can check out his plans for a new C64 or Amiga magazine /Amiga magazine and vote on the title. So I'm really excited to see what Neil has up his sleeve. I always enjoyed going through the magazine, especially on the show with you. It was really a really cool thing, so I'm glad that he's back writing again.
When we got an email from Neil, I was so happy because he's such a great guy, talented as the day is long. And I loved Amigos /Kickstart magazine. I read every issue. I got to write something for it one time, which is, for me, that was crazy. I don't know, I feel like I'm a writer, but it was fun. It was all about Lionheart, I believe. So I feel qualified. But Neil's great, friendly guy. I love it. I was so happy he popped back up. So yeah, I would give this a look because Neil's got something cooking. I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, up next. Did you know, Aaron, that Amiga 34 is almost upon us?
I've heard a lot about this. This is going to be. This is a big, huge, ultra event.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So this is going down in Germany.
Oh man.
And
of course.
this is Amiga 34 celebrating 34 years of creativity, innovation, and fun. So the website of this thing is awesome because every time you load it, it actually loads a different version of Workbench. Have you been on this thing before, Aaron? Okay. So right now we've got the 1.3 up, but you can see obviously all the big guys are going to be here.
Yeah.
Aeon, A1200.net.
You've got bitter rivals in the same joint.
Oh
too.
yeah.
That could be an Amiga style throwdown.
Yeah. And as you work your way through your way through the site, it's just like having an Amiga desktop in your web browser.
Ooh.
So pretty cool. Unfortunately, Aaron, I don't think we're going to be making it to this one. Germany's a bit far away.
This would be the one. No.
Yeah.
Bring your checkbook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We'll get to that later.
Up next, it is Amiga Rama. He celebrated, our boy Lofarius celebrated a special milestone.
The Lord. Yes, he did. Have you listened to this particular episode?
I have not yet. It's like he does a bunch of music, right?
He plays DJ for this one. And of course the tunes are great, but hey, that's great. He's a real super duper nice guy, and what can I say? He puts out a strong podcast. I listen to it all the time. I probably listen to the majority of them, and it's always good stuff. And I was happy to see that he hit the big 100. So congratulations, man. That's a great effort there.
Yeah. Congratulations, Lofarius.
He's been a real strong supporter of ours from way back too. So
yeah,
we love Lofarius.
Did you know, Aaron, that there is a new update for the Amiga 500 case campaign?
Oh boy!
So this comes from A1200.net, home of 1,000 news updates on this show.
Yeah. In fact, I've got one of their cases back at the pad.
Yeah.
Thanks to Tapes in the Crypt.
Hot on the heels of their A1200 case redesign, they are redesigning an Amiga 500 case with lots of new slots cut out for holes for various, modern peripherals and things.
What's the fun of that when you don't take a Dremel and just go to work on it yourself?
I know. They should have consulted you.
I think they did because it's a big chunk that comes out right there. They call it the Aaron hole. Or the A-hole for short, which is what I felt like after I did that.
Well, they really go into detail in this video, going through all of the specific design choices that they've made. And if you are an A500 guy, which, I mean, why? Why would you be an A500
Why would you not
guy?
be? Are you kidding me? They got it all.
No, they've got none of it.
What are
the
you talking
A500
about?
had none of it.
What
It
do you
didn't
mean?
come with 1 mega RAM. It had the crappy RF out that you got to use the 590 for.
Oh no! Well, now wait a minute. Hold on. Back up for a second. Remember, if you're in Europe, all you do is just got that display port. You just hook your thing right up to your TV. It's hard for you.
None I've ever seen have had that.
I've got
That's
it,
all
and
I'm
it's great.
saying.
It's great. That work fine. Listen, don't rag on the A500. This machine here built the empire.
Oh, it
brother.
did. 80% of the Amigas sold were
Now that
A500s.
extension for a video, it's the dirt worst. It's the dirt worst. The worst. But everything else about it was fine. It's a great machine.
Okay.
Great machine.
Okay.
Plus, it does something that you love. It doesn't have AGA.
That's true. It does have that going for it. Let's move over to Facebook, Aaron.
Yes, the
place to be.
That's for one of our viewers.
All right, Phase 101, your favorite Malta hacking group and mine. They are hosting a competition. This is a competition for your. It's basically a game programming competition. You can use any language, you can use shoot 'em up, construction kit, anything you want. And it is a Halloween game competition for both the Amiga and the C64. So I'm going to be watching these guys, Phase 101's Facebook page closely.
Yeah, because we need more stuff for our Halloween shows in the coming years. We've went through a bunch of
They're
stuff.
always such big hits.
Everyone a winner.
People can't wait till our next Halloween show.
Listen, I think we should go over all the Elvira games one more time.
One more time.
Hey, Elvira's in the news right now because her new pinball machine's coming out.
Really?
She's got a new one. Yeah, man.
Is Elvira still with us?
Are you kidding me? Have you seen her?
I thought she'd passed several years ago.
What are you talking about?
She's like 70.
Let me tell you something. She's the hottest old broad you're ever going to see. And she's taking care of business. Listen, she's awesome. She's a pillar of the pinball community.
Okay.
And she should be a pillar of the Amiga community. Bring her in.
All right.
She should be working a convention circuit.
I'll send her an email, see if she wants to come over.
Let me tell you something. I guarantee you, just from being a lot of computer shows and stuff, if Elvira rolled in, the line to get autographs and pictures would be out the door.
That's true. I imagine she does have quite a large online following.
Yes, she does. Oh, man.
All right, Aaron. Next up on the docket.
Here it is.
The Vampire 4. This is the standalone Vampire.
Yes,
this is the story of the week right here. To say the least.
Scroll down so we can see the actual picture. There it is.
Yeah. So this is this thing is going to launch at Amiga 34.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the Saturn launch. Like it just right before the event, actually during the event, they're like, you can go buy these right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the floor. This is almost like that.
I hope it's more successful than the Saturn launch.
They probably won't sell as many at first, but so they have announced what this thing's going to effectively do. Now we should discuss this for a minute. Let's give this a bit of time.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a picture. This for you, the listening audience. The Apollo Team Vampire standalone unit looks like a small black box with some connectors coming out of it.
Yeah, it looks slightly lamer than your Atomic Pi.
It's way lamer actually. It's just not a looker.
No.
All right. This thing came to work. It didn't come to party.
Yeah.
So,
the guys that were working from the A1200.net, the redesigned case for the A500, they were not consulted in the design of the.
I thought about this a lot.
Okay.
Today, because we were talking about it in Discord, where all the great minds meet, and I come in and just look and drool and point. But it's not attractive. It is functional. All right, which is it looks just like a Raspberry Pi style gimmick.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's not it's not the same, but it's a.
Well, if you were to look at it, you would think, okay, that's
right.
Yeah.
Now, this will also ship. It does not have a Kickstart ROMs on it. It's running with the AROS.
The AROS,
stuff in there for legal reasons, but allegedly you could put the Kickstart ones in if you desire. Okay, and when I say ROMs, I'm assuming just put the ROM file in.
Right.
So here it is. We talked about this for a long time. A standalone new Amiga. It's funny to look at it because in my mind's eye, a new Amiga looked sort of like an old Amiga with maybe like Go Faster stripes on the side or fire, and maybe it had some glowing keyboard. And this is
some sweet pegs like my old bike.
Because it's like your mystery Amiga. In your mind, you're like, oh man. But so when it actually arrives and you're kind of holding it, it's to me, and this is no one's fault, but it was sort of underwhelming. I don't know what I expected here. I expected some kind of all-in-one gimmick, but these guys aren't building that. They're building this is a hardware-based thingy, and it's going to be functional, right? And then some people have already been talking about putting one of these in like one of those A1500 cases, and I thought about that because that's probably what you'd want to do, except for this. This reminds me of when I was collecting arcade stuff left and right, and I went out and I was like, I bought a jukebox. Right, and I've got this jukebox. It takes 45 records, right? I'm like, man, I got this jukebox.
Where'd you get that thing from?
I got it from a dude for like a song. No pun intended. It was because it didn't work. I'm gonna fix this jukebox, right? And I'm driving home one day. I'm listening to MP3s in this little MP3 player I had, and I thought to myself, I can store 1 billion MP3s in this little player and have better fidelity and quality, and this thing's smaller than the little hole inside the 145, right? This is where my mind's eye meets reality. Having a big mammoth case, or even putting this thing in a big, huge case, as cool as it would be, it really is sort of utterly pointless to the functionality of the item, right? You know what I mean?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with utterly pointless.
Well, go ahead. You lost me. What do you mean?
This thing is crap.
Wait a minute.
It's the worst.
Hold on a second.
You want me to talk or not?
Well, I mean, you don't want to go crazy here.
Well,
Why do you say that?
I'm about ready to go crazy, but I don't want to start going crazy until you're done.
No, I'm done. But I'm surprised. Why do you say that?
Okay. Everything about this is wrong. Every single decision they made in this is wrong. Everything from the dopey vampire logo to the 12-year-old gamer LED backlit keyboard.
Does that come with it, the keyboard?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it does. Why do you want to buy a new Amiga? You want to buy a new Amiga because it going to be faster. Maybe it's going to be able to connect to more, more devices, more modern style devices. But you also want an Amiga to look different than a Raspberry Pi or an Atomic Pi. You want this thing to have a look because Amiga computers had a look. When you had an Amiga, you knew it wasn't a PC or a Mac. Okay? This thing, I mean, maybe they're so hung up on the coolness, and I say that with air quotes, of the Vampire brand.
It is cool guy looking.
Yeah. That they forgot who their audience was. But man, I mean, they could have really hit this thing out of the park if they would have put this thing in a unique looking, sexy case that called to mind the best design decisions of either the A1000 or the A500. Because here's the thing. You're like, well, why would you want to put it in a big case when it's so small? You're going to need a keyboard anyway. Okay? So if you need a keyboard anyway, why not build this thing into it?
You're not wrong.
You're right, I'm not wrong.
I mean, you're full of piss and vinegar, but that part I have to agree with you on.
I mean, it's so, for the price
it is surprising.
For the price that they're charging for this thing, I mean, it seems like such little thought, and maybe
what is the price? Scroll down there. I know they mentioned it at the bottom here. Yeah,
550 euros.
That's about $700, $800.
Yeah,
right. For
maybe slightly less than that with the current exchange rate.
US dollars.
But I mean, this thing literally looks like it could be a Raspberry Pi in a case. Okay, now I understand that underneath the hood there's lots of cool technology, but man, and then the LED keyboard, that's just the icing on the cake.
Well, those are free giveaways at the show, it says there. I believe is what it says there on the thing. So that may, it doesn't matter. This goes back to, we used to have these little discussions, and I don't want to get into it, but on the Vampire board in general, the non-standalone one, which has got a programmable chip in it,
yeah.
The standard,
FPGA,
like a Mister or whatever, and so you've got the standalone Amiga in this little box. I agree with what you're saying, but these guys they're not necessarily case designers or people that, I think maybe what they're doing is saying, here's your standalone Amiga, you put it what you want. Maybe that's the way we should read this.
And if that's the case, then they shouldn't have wrapped it up in this cheap look. I mean, they should have just showed the bare board.
Well, they could have.
That's what if they would have done that, I would have been fine with it, because that's what the Vampire is.
You're right. But here's the thing. I mean, I don't fault the guys for putting it in something. All right, you're asking for $700.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's say $650.
Okay.
Right? $650 for a no frills bare bone nothing that you, at least this, as cool guy as it looks, and I mentioned this in the Discord, it does look like, and their logo is kind of cool guy looking, like 90s cool guy style. Which, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I was in the 90s, but at least you could take this thing home, plug it in, play with it immediately. You don't have to worry about it spilling a pop on it or whatever. You got something. We don't know this case is probably an afterthought.
Sure, I guarantee. Right? Well, if it wasn't, there's something wrong.
Right, but I mean, so you can, if you look at it from that angle, you can see that part of it.
Well, yeah, but I'm also,
the hardware is the thing.
I'm looking at it from the angle that I just paid $650 for this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want something. I don't care how cool the board is. I want it wrapped up in something equally as cool.
Well, these guys probably though are not. They're not people that do keyboards and whatnot. Look how much trouble the A1200 people just had getting that project off the ground.
I'm not saying it's
easy. Or the
easy.
Checkmate, that Steven. So maybe they're gonna do maybe what I would do. What would be a good move for the community is maybe work out something where, hey, you can get the 1500 with this installed. There's a gimmick there.
Here's what I would have done. I would have called up Steven Jones. Okay, I'm the guy on the Vampire team, and say, hey, you're getting ready to launch this Checkmate, all right?
Yeah.
Would you mind putting it off a month? Because we're going to launch the standalone Vampire. And how cool would it be if we could do a simultaneous launch at Amiga 34, simultaneously showing how awesome it is to put one of these things inside your case, and it's the perfect marriage of form and function.
Well, I know that thing was kickstarted, so I don't know how that would have worked. But I mean, I see you're right. it doesn't matter when that released anyway. They could. What I agree with you, it would have been more aesthetically pleasing to have this in a more appropriate container at the show. That much said. I don't know how many they're bringing to the show, but they'll sell every one.
Oh yeah, and I guarantee
and I would probably buy one if I was there and had the money, just
right.
because they'll never go down in price. Like I was saying on the Discord, if I pick it up as a collectible. These FPGA setups, they're expensive because the chip alone is pricey, and then the amount of independent design that went into it, that was a lot of man. I mean, so I don't even have a lot of people are like, this is really pricey, and it is, but I don't have a problem with the price because they put a lot of work into it. A lot of man hours. They can charge what they want. I mean, I don't know, and they'll sell some at that price. And you've got a new Amiga equivalent, effectively, and if you want to have the same experience as you would have having an Amiga with a vampire in it, this is probably going to be pretty darn close.
Well, except for the fact that you're not going to get the Kickstarter.
You mean the ROMs?
Right.
But those are cheap. Those are real cheap.
But I mean, I'm just saying, how
And I can understand.
There's a lot of compromises here. I realize that the board is expensive to produce. There's a lot of things that are expensive to produce. There are a lot of things that take a lot of man hours. Just because something takes a long time to make doesn't mean that it's worth making.
If you scroll down a little bit more, I think at the bottom of this, here's what I want to talk about before we move on. Now, when you buy this thing, it's not 100% ready for prime time. There's some. Did you see this before this right this second?
No, I haven't seen this.
The Ethernet on this thing is not
fantastic.
done.
Fantastic.
So you won't have Ethernet right away. The USB works with some stuff, but it's not ready. It's not ready for prime time.
You don't want to print.
Of course, most of the games will work, but with the Aeros, with those chips, your mileage.
I run into that all the time.
I use those all the time that's not true. I occasionally will mess around with them on the emulator, and it's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag.
And then the boot drive. You can't boot from the micro SD yet. From what it says here, you can use those for data, but you can't actually boot from. So when you get this, not only will you be purchasing the Vampire Standalone, but effectively you're going to be helping to work out these bugs.
Sure.
And this is sort of the way the Vampire cards have worked.
Yeah.
You'll buy the card, and then they're working on it as you go.
Right.
So you have to be comfortable with that. Now, again, if you're comfortable with dropping $650, and then you're going to be getting something that's sort of functional. Of course, the Amiga didn't have Ethernet. SD or Ethernet or USB. So I mean,
and here's the thing, the people that this is obviously, I'm not the target audience for this thing. There are people, I'm sure, that are 100% behind this project. They want to be early adopters, and they want to be part of the development. And I think that that's cool. It's a total hobbyist machine.
Yeah.
It's not unlike the Aeon Technologies Amigas. The new Amiga,
or the Mister,
the next generation,
where they
Amigas.
develop different cores as they go. Yeah, it's not
right.
And you're right; it is a hobbyist machine. This is not
right. I think the fact that they tried to make it look cool with the LED keyboard and the logo and stuff on it, that really kind of soured me on the whole deal.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't bother me that much because it was a giveaway just for Germany. I think the case is sort of an elaborate package. I mean, I'm not that down on this. I feel like the same way I felt with the Vampire boards. There's a weird area there. I don't know how I feel about it.
How much is a Vampire board?
They went up. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't priced one for a while because even if you go to the website, I had that same question because I've got the 600 now that's coming back, and we've got a 500. I was like, maybe we could put a Vampire and it's just a tinker with it. And when you go to the website. The best I could find out when you get added to a list of people, and never once could I see an actual physical price.
Okay, Picard says $379.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that's about $450, $500 US dollars
for that price. Especially if you're in Europe, you can get an A600 and a Vampire board. For the price of this thing, you can get an A600 and a Vampire board for it.
The flip side of that is you're going to be partially dependent on ancient technology.
True.
So, and you also you're going to have to fiddle with it, putting it in, making sure it works, and all the this right here.
But again, you're everything is fiddle. That's why you buy this thing, is to fiddle around.
I mean,
with
you're not wrong. Yeah, but I mean, I think there's a market for a standalone. I think it's an important step. It can be. It
a
depends
step on the way to what?
I don't know. I don't know. We talked about this before when they first announced this. I was excited about it, but I don't know exactly. It'll be interesting to see what. Okay, Spectrum Next. Okay. What is that?
I'll tell you. The first thing is it's a cool looking piece of kit.
Well,
so that's a check in its box.
You got to
right
think
there.
in the time it's taken the Spectrum Next to be announced and not shipped. These guys have pretty much announced, designed, and shipped this. It's here now. You can go buy one, and it's not a whole lot more expensive than the Next. All right. But I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not comparing the two. What I'm saying is they're comparable as they're sort of a quasi next generation that still has a foot in the door of the previous generation, right? So I can compare it to that. And so I'm going to go with that. Now, the Spectrum Next is a bunch of people making stuff that it's going to be ready when it comes out. Maybe people will be making things exclusively for this and for Vampire enabled.
And that would be, Ravi brought up a great point in the Discord. I think it was Ravi, and he said that if I was going to be launching this thing, I would hope to have at least a couple titles that this thing is, people are able to take advantage of all this extra power. I think they're launching with one game.
Again, this kind of goes back to the case. I suspect that the guys working on this, geniuses, they're not game programmers. These are guys that are hardware specialists that are doing this thing. The same thing that they don't design. They did this. They designed this, and presumably their approach is going to be let the community spring up around it, right? Which is what they would like. And I can't fault them for that. It is more, it's not like the Atari or the little Intellivision remake coming out where it's gonna be ready to go and you just play it. That's for consumers. This is for super hobbyists that are willing to drop $800 or $600 on something just in the hopes that maybe at bare minimum they can play all their old stuff and then maybe they'll get some new crazy stuff. So it's an interesting thing. It's two sort of communities clashing. I'm excited about it. And I'm anxious to see it in action. Bill had prototypes of this thing up at their meeting a few months ago. It looked interesting. I saw him playing it. So the price, I knew the price was going to be huge because it's just the base price to build it is pretty expensive.
Right.
So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not condemning it. I'm more upbeat about it than you, but I can understand exactly because when I looked at it, I had to say. My first initial thought was like, "Oh shucks," and then I had to sit back and say, "Why am I mad?" So it is what it is.
Well, speaking of Amiga events, there's one coming up in January, Aaron.
I've heard about this.
Amiga Ireland is coming up in January, and as you know, I went to Ireland last year. Thanks to some very generous contributions from our community, from our listeners, and I would like to go back this year. But it all depends on if I'm able to raise the funds, as it were, because as you know, living in West Virginia, just to get to an airport that flies to Ireland is a very arduous and expensive journey.
Yeah, you should mention, just briefly tell them how far you've got to go and what you've got to do. I mean, you don't just hop in. We don't just get down in Charleston, do you?
No.
It's like an expensive trip just to get up to where you can fly.
Yeah, I've got to fly from Charleston to D.C., D.C. to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Just to get to the Philadelphia airport, which then flies to Dublin.
God.
Yeah. So
and you're visiting a couple of real fun towns still on the way.
Yeah. So anyway, I've opened up a new GoFundMe site, Send Boat Back to Amiga Ireland, and basically, what's in it for you? I am really going to up my game this year in terms of the coverage that I'm able to do. Last year, I was just sort of feeling things out. I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't bring a whole lot of stuff because I wasn't sure what the environment was going to be like. Now I know what the environment's like, and I am ready. So I'm going to be bringing better cameras. I'm bringing the 5D Mark II to tape video and stream. I'm bringing the entire audio setup that we use for this show, plus a couple extra mics. I'm going to get there a full day in advance. Okay, I'm taking off major time from work to do this thing. I'm going to get there a day in advance to scout out the perfect location to have interviews. And I'm also going to be there right at the beginning as they're setting up. I'm going to be helping set up, streaming the whole time, from soup to nuts, this whole operation. Not only that, whenever we have the parties after the show, going out to Gertie Brown's, the big after party where everybody goes afterwards, I'm going to provide coverage of that. I'm going to try and interview all of the big names that are there. I got quite a few last year, but there were a couple that I missed out on. And there may be a couple other things in the works that I've been talking to Erla about.
I suggest that for your trip in 2 years, you could take the footage you shoot at the local bars afterwards and use it for blackmail material.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true. But anyway, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful to go, and I want to thank Chris Folds and Paul Harrington for jumping in early for contributing to my voyage.
I thought last year I loved your coverage. I watched a good chunk of it, and live, and it was awesome. And the fact that now that you know all the guys running it and stuff, and you've been there before, so you should really be able to crank it up.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to providing some more professional style.
See if you can get the Cloanto guy again and flip the.
I'll remember to turn on the microphone this time for sure. All right, Aaron, you ready to jump into Globdule? Are you ready to sink slowly in?
No, I'm not. I'm not ready for that. That sounds hideous. But I guess we're going to do it, aren't we? So, now I always ask you this, Bo, and I'm going to ask again. Have you ever played Globdule?
This was my first go-round.
Had you heard of this game?
No.
I had not either.
I was very surprised because it's a Psygnosis title.
I know. I'd say I never heard of this. In my whole Amiga life, I never heard of this. It's not one I'd come across ever.
Yeah.
So, Globdule. I gotta keep saying that, don't I? First got released in '93, and you mentioned it was published by Psygnosis, which this is nuttier, one of their nuttier publishing bits, and it was developed by an outfit called Examino. Now, I tried to look into Examino. Good luck. There's
nothing there.
I can't find nothing about these guys. And this is the only Amiga game they did. In fact, several of the guys that worked on this was the only Amiga game that they worked on. The coder or the artist of this thing was a guy named Ian Shaw. It's funny, I was looking, this is an odd thing to see on, which one was it? It was one of the Amiga news sites had a little write-up of this, and because the credits list Anthony Ball as a coder, okay, and it's also lists Ian Shaw as a coder. But according to Hall of Light, it says here Anthony Ball merely allowed Ian Shaw to use some of his routines. He didn't actually code anything in the game.
Wow, I wonder if he got any residuals.
I don't know. I thought it was a weird thing to list there, so there must be something somewhere. I looked for some interviews on, but I didn't see anything mentioning that. Graphics were done by a fellow named Lloyd Baker. It was produced by, now listen, this is a name you'll remember, Greg Duddle, because we've looked at a couple of his games. He worked on Benefactor and Wiz and Liz, which we liked.
I like both those games.
We liked both those games. And the musician on this was a fellow named Mike Clark. We've actually covered a few of his games too, including he did Hired Guns, Last Action Hero, Wiz and Liz, and Last Ninja 2.
Okay.
Which we looked at that one.
So this is a pretty good team we got going on.
Well, again, this is the music. So, but like I said, the majority of these people didn't really work on a whole lot of stuff on this. This runs on ECS OCS. So this is another one that it's funny to think that I can't wait. I've been working on my 1000 this week to get it up to speed. I got to get a keyboard cord for it. But I was like, man, I'm not going to play all the games I'm used to playing. But really, I remember having the 1000 for years and playing just about everything.
There's a lot. Yeah, it'll run a lot of stuff.
So, this is straight from the box. You know I love these. But this was such corn baloney. I had to write some stuff down. So, Globdule. This is from the box now. Globdule, the first ever Splatform game. Get it? Huh? Brings an entirely new type of game to the Amiga. This had never been done. All right? The blob game.
Okay.
Globdule wants to become the latest toy around and has to make his way through a world of caves, ever nasties, and cunning traps using his phenomenal sticking ability on his journey to that great toy ship in the sky. And believe it, with Globdule's unbelievable Splatform antics,
they're getting their money's worth out of that.
He's bound to become a star on the Amiga. There you go. Now, how you rate this guy as a star? Well, yeah, he is a guy. How you rate him as a star may vary. So, what is this game? We're going to call it a platformer. It is a platformer, but very unique. I will say it is an unusual platforming game. You play a little blob, and the backstory in this, which is ridiculously stupid. He's got a get it out of there, boat. Basically, he wants to become. His goal in life is to become a toy, and to do that, he has to survive his way to the great toy maker
in the sky,
who has promised that if he can complete these trials, he will be made into a toy.
Okay.
Right now, there's really not much of a intro package on that, and there's no cutscene. And if you watch the ending of this, this has one of the all-time crap endings in Amiga history.
For some reason, I neglected to look it up.
Well, you made the right decision, but and I hate to spoil it for you, but the ending is text telling you what happens. Horrible. Yeah. They didn't have the good decency to put a picture in there and show you the blob going like blah beside a toy
with his arm around his blob girlfriend.
Yeah. Who looks distant and aloof. Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking how great it'd be to have that on your shirt.
Me too. I was thinking about that too.
So, what is wrong with us?
I don't know.
So your little Globdule, his goal is to get off these levels is to collect stuff. Now this took a look at Super Frog and said, "You call that collecting?"
Right.
I'm going to show you collecting, brother. This thing has collections to beat the band, boat. It's got tons and tons of stuff to collect. So when you're playing the little blob, unlike most platformers, you actually stick to the walls and the floor and stuff everywhere you can. And so what it does is it means he basically can go around everything. It's real unusual play style. And so along the way there'll be bad guys or spikes, stuff like that, or fire that is just basically built into the wall. That's how they get you. And so, but since you can go everywhere, I mean, really the level design in this is pretty important. And I thought for the most part, they did a pretty clever job in as far as I could get. Now, I did not get past the second level. And I was cheating, I might add. I started out playing this on the Amiga, and I broke down and went to the emulator so I could do save states because I was getting frustrated. But the game is an attractive game, I thought. I think it has a good look to it. This is actually, despite the fact you're playing a little blob, he's probably one of the better.
He's one of the better
platform characters we've seen on the Amiga.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Because I mean, here's what
you've got. It's also a low bar.
You've got some emotive eyeballs and a blob. The blob looks good. The eyes look at where you're going.
He's not offensive to my eyes like Kid Chaos was.
He's not offensive to the eyes.
Or that weird baby.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird ones. I mean, again, is this guy going to win the most creative mascot award? No. But he's not. But unlike most games we play, it made me not want to look away in horror. I could stand him. He's actually pretty interesting to control. Aside from sliding around, he can jump. And when you jump, he doesn't jump like a standard platformer character. He sort of launches himself out at the angle of the surface he's on.
That's exactly what he does.
And that's the key to a lot of the game. It involves lining yourself up. Now, when you're in the air, you have control over where you sail, more or less. But this is not Mario.
Well, no, I don't. I wouldn't agree with that at all. You pretty much sail in one direction until you hit another wall. You have no control over.
That's not true. It depends on here. And let me explain what I mean. If you are on the side of a wall and you launch off, you're pretty much going to fly directly sideways as to where you went. However, if you launch yourself at like an angle upward, like I'm saying, like if you're like on like a surface that's just sort of leany, you can, when you're up in your arc, you can actually control where you go.
Okay.
It depends on how it depends on falling versus jumping. So I guess what I mean is if he's on something sideways or upside down, that's sort of falling. If he's actually on like sort of a semi-flat surface or flat, he's sort of jumping up, and then you have some limited control of him. That makes a difference. And so a lot of what you're doing in this game, aside from getting to the point where you need to get to the collectibles, is actually lining up your jumps to get all the collectibles.
Right. Well, that is the game.
Well, that's a good chunk of the game. There's a little bit more because there's jumping on bad guys and avoiding spikes. Now, just with all that said, Bo, give me your initial thoughts on this thing. And when you first started playing it, what did you think about this interesting and unique play style?
Well, at the beginning, I thought it was kind of interesting. This game, it's certainly different than any other platformer I've ever played.
Yeah.
I can't think of another platformer with this particular mechanic. The more I played it, the less enamored I became of it. Although it is unique, I would not call it fun. In fact, I would call it not fun. This reminds me is if you took the ninja rope on Worms and you turned it into a play style, like you know how with the ninja rope you can swing down and then you can reel yourself in and then you can spring out again. Yeah. Okay, so if that was and that's fun when you're playing Worms and you expect stuff to go wrong. When you're trying to line up precise jumps and do what you want to do, it became much less fun. I found myself being very frustrated just because this game, in all other respects other than controls, looks like your standard platformer. I mean, this could be Zool or any number of things. And because it does look so much like a standard platformer, unless you're constantly reminding yourself that you're not playing something that controls like that, you're going to be in for a world of frustration.
I sort of see where you're coming. The game, is it fun? And you mentioned that you didn't think it was. It's an interesting point because and this is something I want to bring up. So we mentioned that you have to position yourself for jumps. It's important not just for collections, but to avoid spikes and fire and enemies and whatnot. Now, there's a lot. This is your typical sort of European style game where you have to collect stuff, and then eventually when you collect it all, you can get out of the level. Right? We see that a lot in these, right?
Yeah. Now, and there's we should talk about how you collect myriad objects in this game. There are many different types of things you can collect, and the docs actually go so far to say that the Globdule has a pocket that he keeps all these things in. To me, that would be the one advantage of being a Globdule, is that you don't need a pocket. You're a Globdule, you just stick it down in your gelatinous ooze and let it fester there.
Yeah.
So the
how unappealing a sentence that was. My God.
So the problem is that you collect all of these different things, and none of the stuff actually does anything other than what you need to collect, the number of what you need to collect to get out of the level.
Yeah.
Now, every level has a different number and type of thing that you need to collect. Some levels you have to collect a certain amount of one thing, a certain amount of another. Yeah. What happens is you end up just collecting a bunch of other stuff just for the heck of it. And you can actually press the space bar and cycle through all of your inventory.
I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah, to me, this is a real wasted opportunity. I think they could have really had something if they would have said, okay, on this stage, you need to collect 40 diamonds and 30 apples. For every 10 emeralds you collect, you get an extra hit point or something like that. Like, give me a reason to collect the other stuff. You're already giving me this inventory where I can cycle through stuff. Another big misstep was the lack of power-ups. I wanted something that could make me like super Globdule, like maybe let me grow in size.
Or shoot something.
Yeah, or give me a projectile or something.
Or be invulnerable.
Speaking of other blob games, A Boy and His Blob. The whole game is that you're feeding your blob jelly beans, and the blob transforms. Boy,
that's a great game.
Yeah. Why not have something like that in this game?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple thoughts on that. If you notice the intro for this game and the option screen and the ending of the game, it has and also the inventory thing, which also struck me as odd. In fact, I thought, maybe it's somewhere down in the future of the game, like later past where I got with this, but I couldn't see a point where that did anything. So I have a guess, and the guess is that this game got rushed out. The intro is crap. Literally, you have no options effectively. Yeah. It's the end of the game's crap. Now so I mean, not all. It's not like they rushed through the whole game. There's a lot of good points, but it is odd. That struck me as odd that they would even keep track like that. Because really, except to find out if you've got the key or not, which you forget maybe if you got it. I didn't get much use out of that. But
and the way that you open up, like, one thing about this game that angered me is that when you've got the key, you can't just run into the door. you have to actually glob yourself over the lock.
I watched you on
the key.
I watched you on the playthrough. And I was cackling as you tried to get there.
It was very, very frustrating. We should talk about the main point of my frustration on that video too: exiting the level.
Yes, the very first level, and I have to say, I'm not gonna lie, I did the same exact thing so I just basically sat there and tried every conceivable way to get out.
Right.
You know?
So in most games, Amiga platformers where you have to collect a certain amount of things to exit. There will usually be a door that opens up, and you press open to go through the door. In this game, or you might just run off the edge of the screen, Sonic style. In this game, you have, I don't know what exactly.
It's a little red platform that when you finish the level, fireworks or
it's almost like an eruption of a volcano. Which, in the first place, I was reluctant to go into it because I thought it would hurt me.
Yeah, I thought it was fireworks, and so I just stood on it, and I was like, well, I guess I'm okay. And what do I do?
So now what they could have done is either just when you collected all the things you needed it just makes you go past the level. Another thing they could have done is given you the platform. And it's only natural when you've got a platform and you press up, nothing happens. You press down, nothing happens. You have to hold fire and press down, which most of the time pressing fire does what?
Fire something.
No.
Jumps. Yeah.
In this game, pressing fire jumps. Completely counterintuitive to what you think is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because when you jump off the freaking platform.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, it's a little thing, but it's so goofy.
It's very poor.
I mean, once you figure it out, you just do it every time you just pull down, but it was weird. Now, one thing I wanted to get into a little bit, and I wanted to see if you thought this way. You mentioned that you collect a ton of stuff, and of course, there's a zillion things. One of the things that gets frustrating is how long it takes to collect stuff in this. Now, this is a symptom of the game style, which is you have to get in a certain position to jump to collect certain things. So often you'll be in a room that's round or curved, and there's a big pile of stuff in the middle. Some of it you definitely have to have. And if you want to get it all for completeness, you've got to jump about 1,000,000 times back and forth, trying to get it all. Because you have to move your guy to a certain spot, aim, and then jump. It's almost like you're shooting your guy in a weird way. And so that gets old quick. Because when you're whipping through a level, and you're like, okay, here we go. I'm going through. Or even if you're in a bonus area and you're a quickie, you're in there for forever, bouncing back and forth, trying to get all that stuff.
All you're doing is setting up an angle, jumping from one wall to the other, setting up an angle.
Yeah.
It's not particularly challenging. It's just dull.
And it can get frustrating when you jump from one angle, and it can actually shoot you right down to the hole you came in and down into fire or whatever, because you can fall a good ways.
And then of course, as you're falling, you just manically push the button to try and save yourself, and that puts you in an even worse spot.
Yeah.
This is a very you have to think a lot. It's a very cerebral game, which is sort of antithetical to most platformers. I would hesitate. I mean, it is a platformer, but it's very physics based. These days I'm sure there's a whole genre of games like this.
It's very. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like the game. Okay, because it's really different. We always talk about it's the same old crap. They tried to think outside the box. And they sort of succeeded. The more I played this, though, the less I liked it, and it's because it would just it got. It wasn't even super hard. It just got frustrating and annoying.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, annoying is the word I would use.
Yeah.
And gathering of stuff was the annoying thing. Or also, like, for example, if you've got to jump over a big pit of fire or something, and they put collectibles over the fire that you need to get, that's annoying. Yeah. Plus, you can get
because
killed.
it's all trial and error.
It is. And
it's a lot like setting up a pool shot where you do it a whole bunch of times and it becomes easier. But when you're first starting out and you don't have unlimited tries, you're like, well, I'm going to go like 3 pixels over this time. Nope, that didn't work. I died back at the beginning. 4 pixels over.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now we haven't talked about the enemies you're going to come across. Really, in the cavern zone, there's not a whole lot of enemies. I think there's some barking dogs at one point. When you get to the second stage, you're going to see animals and stuff walking around, ducks and all kinds of stuff. And you can basically hop on them. And when you hop on them, their eyeballs are still there, but they're gone. And you can collect the eyeballs. Yeah. It's funny because some of the, like, for example, at one point you're doing this, and there's a mama duck with her ducklings, just kind of walking around, screw them.
Yeah,
glob.
it's a very Brian the Lion-esque thing where
Yes.
your enemies aren't really there to menace you,
No.
yet you destroy them
No,
without
just
mercy.
kill them.
Yeah,
Just kill them. And they're pretty cute, some of them too, but just you kill them. There are different scenarios in this. Of course, you've got the cave, there's the woods, there's like a toy shop that looked pretty cool. I didn't get that far, but I watched a video of that. It looked around. And the game is long. I mean, there's a ton of levels, but the levels repeat. I mean, the scenarios sort of repeat after you go through and watch. So it's like you're going to see like tons and tons of new content. You're going to see, basically new levels with the same sort of graphics set that you're used to. But all in all, I sort of kind of would recommend this game for a look. Like I said, I've not played. I mean, and of course, I don't play much modern stuff, so there could be a ton of these out now. There are certain points in this that it almost even has a Sonic feel if you're because there's sort of a momentum and a gravity.
Well, in the way that you destroy enemies, you start to rotate as you jump, and that kills enemies.
I mean, there are little tubes you can go down. He's hauling butt down through the same. It runs at a good clip,
Yeah, the gameplay is very smooth. I think that if someone were they're like, man, I want to check out a Psygnosis game, I would suggest this over almost any title in the Psygnosis catalog.
Oh man,
I mean, Psygnosis. Think about most of their games just punishingly difficult. Can't get by the first screen difficult.
I don't fully agree with you, but I mean, I do agree that their games are punishingly
hard. Tell me a Psygnosis game that's easier to get into than this.
Well, they published the game.
That you're not answering me.
Didn't they publish Lemmings?
No, that was DMA.
No, they published it. DMA designed it. I think Psygnosis published Lemmings. So there's one right there.
Okay.
You can't blame the publisher if they make it hard. They should. Now, here's something funny. Speaking of Psygnosis, just a couple of tidbits I found when I was nosing around. So when this game came out, it wasn't a hard drive installable, but from what I read, if you called up or wrote to Psygnosis, they could send you a hard drive installable version of this, which I'm kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I guess enough people complained about it. Something else I read is that when this thing came out on a demo disc, it debuted on a demo disc in Amiga Power in '93, and the introduction text on it said Psygnosis presents, but they spelled Psygnosis wrong. Not good.
No.
Not good on that one. So that's another thing that makes you wonder if they were, asleep at the wheel, basically on this. But overall, did you watch I don't know how far you got. Did you watch on past where you got?
No, I forgot to. I saw the second level, but I didn't progress.
I mean, it's not like I said, it's nothing that's going to blow your mind. But I mean, there's some pretty clever. There's a lot of clever things in terms of jumping and avoiding. But I mean, a lot of it's more the same. I read a lot of people on Lemon were saying that the later levels were too ugly and they didn't like it. But I thought they looked okay. I mean, I thought personally, I thought they looked okay.
I have no qualms with the way this game looks at all. To me, this is one of the best looking. I mean, the colors, nothing is washed out. The collectibles are well drawn, even though there's a million of them. Yeah. The enemies are well drawn and well animated. There's a lot to praise in this game.
I don't get that the overwhelming growth of collectibles in all these games. I don't get that. It's weird, isn't it?
It was just one of those things that started in Europe and it just became just sort of a given. Like, we got to have tons of things. They probably did some market research. And they said, hey, what do you like about this game? Well, I love there's tons of crap to get all over the place. And they're like, all right, from now on, that's what we do.
There's a few Midland things we should mention. Aside from the fact that your guy also goes underwater, I thought that was interesting. He gets a little like a snorkel mask.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of Flood there.
Did you actually play any of the underwater stuff?
No,
that's a pretty weird. It's a bizarre, unusual feeling. This thing has a password save feature, and that's perfectly fine. And when you beat a full level, you can actually go back and play old levels, and there's sort of a branching path you can go down. So it kind of would vary up how you play with it. I thought that was nice. So they dotted their I's on that one. Overall though, I like I said, I kind of dug it. It's okay. It's not the best game I played, but it's certainly not the worst.
Oh no.
Now, I looked up some review scores on this one, Boatster. The Lemon folks gave this thing a 7.14. It's funny this game was real divisive on Lemon. I mean, I was reading the comments.
I couldn't believe how low this game scored on Lemon. I could not.
Well, 7's not low.
Yeah, for Lemon.
But I mean, there were a lot of people that just were like, "Listen, this game's." I mean, some people are like, "This is the best platform in the Amiga," and some were like, "This is absolute crap." So this is one of those types of games.
I guarantee you, we've never played a game that scored this low on Lemon.
Oh yeah, we have. What are you talking? We played Top Banana.
Oh well, that
Okay.
doesn't
Oh
count.
yeah,
That
boy, I'm
doesn't count.
shooting you down left and right. Bow. So I looked at some. Now listen, here's some magazines we haven't talked about. Amiga Dream,
I love it.
89%. Tilt, 85. That's a weird name for an Amiga magazine.
Sweet.
Amiga Power, 82. Playtime, 74. Amiga Games, 72. Amiga Joker, 72. Obligement, 70. Amiga Format, 69. And I read the Amiga Format article, and one of the things they mentioned was that this game was expensive when it came out. I guess it was, I think it was something like 29 pounds, something like that. I mean,
Wow.
that is expensive, isn't it, for a new
Although,
game?
I mean, I think that was the sort of MSRP for Amiga games.
Well, I know that was their big complaint about the game. It's like, yeah, this thing's way too pricey for this. It's a middling platform. That's too much money. So, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, to me, would I take this over Shadow of the Beast? Yes, any day of the
Oh,
week.
it's way more playable.
Yeah,
It's
and
way
I
more
guarantee
playable.
you that Shadow of the Beast cost just as much as this game did.
You reminded me of something. This game has tons and tons of music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the music's pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it, and there's a lot of different
There's a
music
lot
for
of different
levels.
tracks, and that's the main thing.
And
is
it plays while you're playing.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And
Like I said,
and
there's
you
a lot
always
to like
kill
about
them.
this
So
game, yeah.
that's one thing we can agree on there. That's good. So overall, I think you sort of feel like I do.
Yeah.
Maybe a little downer on it than I am, but overall, it's okay.
Right.
It was a good try of something different, and I'll give them points for that.
Right. We had a couple reviews on our Discord. Chris Folds writes, an amazing concept, cute graphics, music is as you expect to hear on the Amiga. You can hear that instrument pack a mile off. However, for some reason I didn't get, the controls never felt natural like I was always fighting them. A good effort, but no masterpiece. 6 out of 10. Graham W. Vebke says, a scrolling platform game with a pink goo-like character that reminds me of the character in Putty at times. Being goo-like, your character is able to stick to pretty much any wall or ceiling in the game, but you have no arms and therefore no weapons. So your only course of action is to avoid all the enemies and obstacles, and at times that reminds me of Flood. Overall, the levels are quite long and mostly frustrating because of the controls, and this stops me playing this more. 6 out of 10.
I will say Flood did have a more a disturbing ending than this.
Yeah. And finally, Pixels at Dawn says, a platformer that is often overlooked in the Psygnosis catalog, but actually it's a very solid game. The main character is very quick to move, although jumping from an angled slope can take some getting your head around. It never quite becomes second nature. The mechanic works in the world, but not in your head. A fun game once you figure out how to take out the enemies, and not horrendously difficult like most Amiga platformers. Yeah. I finished the first world on the first try. Yeah. 7 out of 10.
Well, to be honest, the first world. Okay, that's because the first level.
Yeah.
You know,
hey man, I had trouble with that first level.
You know what is always amusing to me is that we don't consult anyone. We don't even talk to each other when we do these, do we? But often people are sort of like of the same mindset. I don't know what that means, but I mean, I guess like because 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, that's pretty much where I'd put this. We're in that ballpark.
Me too. Aaron, why don't we talk a little bit about what's been going on the everything or the Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel?
Man, this has been a banner week for videos. It's been great.
So let's start things off with reloading the channel, I guess. Oh no,
videos.
yeah,
you always do that.
I always do that. Sorry. So let's move all the way back to last week when we talked about the 10-minute. Actually, we can talk a little bit about the Coco Show because we actually launched that after last week's show. We are starting a new monthly show called the Coco Show. It's all about the TRS-80 Tandy color computer. We did a little teaser episode, just a little quick 10-minute teaser. It's gotten pretty good action so far, so we still plan on moving forward with that. I'm hoping that Aaron comes up with the games that we're going to play here pretty soon so I can dive right in.
I will.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that early next month.
When do you put on? Do we have any idea on a debut date for that?
I'm hoping it's next week.
Okay, wow. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. I interviewed the one and only 10-minute Amiga Retrocast last week, 10 Mark Douglas. He is a very cool dude. He knows a ton about Amiga and the whole non-gaming side of things, which is something that I don't know anything about. So I had a really great talk with him and his backgrounds and influences things and all the things that he's doing on his channel. If you're not watching the 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, you need to. He really goes in deep deep in the weeds with his series on different hardware, and he's branching out into different platforms now too.
I heard that. Now, I watched this. I enjoyed this quite a bit. It was another. You're on fire interview-wise, and you're getting good guests too. And the fact that Tinmark talked about working in the camera shop, that was great. And I also like the fact he mentioned using this thing called DigiView, which was a Amiga video digitizer. Now, I had one of these bad boys myself, so when he was talking about using it, I was like, let's see if he mentions that color wheel, and he did. I remember trying to get this thing to work with this color wheel, and man, of course, I didn't work in a camera shop. I couldn't spell camera, and so I had this thing out, and I'm just like, it was the images I created were banned in all countries. They were the worst. I couldn't get this thing down, and I don't know where I got this digital. It came in a deal or something. You get stuff.
Oh yeah.
Man, and I also had one of those real sound, or perfect sound things that went on the back for sound. It's just very similar results. Not only am I not working in a camera shop, I don't work in a recording studio either. Horrible. So I'll give him thumbs up just being able to figure out how to use that darn thing. But yeah, great interview, Bo. You guys did a great job. And Tim Marcos said, very knowledgeable dude.
Now, this has been the week. I don't think we've ever had a week like this week in all the years we've been podcasting.
Yeah, that happened in between shows.
Yeah.
Did I even hint about this last week?
I don't think so.
So... it's not to go too deep into it, but I get bored at jiu-jitsu, and I'm waiting for my kid to finish up. So I got the old phone out. This is like so many stories, and I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace, and the dude has always searched for Amiga, and I've only came up one time, and that's when I bought my 1200 a couple years ago. So this guy, it comes up, bam, dude selling an Amiga 1000, $100. I'm like, whoa, $100! I'm gonna get me some of that sweet Amiga action. So I'm send the guy a message. I'm like, listen, I'd like to get in on this. He goes, listen, you got two guys ahead of you. I might call back. And I was like, oh, man. So I kept talking to the guy, and I was like, if they fall through, I might even be able to go a little bit higher than $100 on it because I really wanted this. He's like, well, so we'll do. So I kept chatting with the guy because Mothman was last week in the Mothman Fest. But all through Mothman, I would take time to send the guy a message. Just something like, I'm interested in all...
Thinking of you.
I'm all Commodore. I'm interested in all Commodore stuff. I'm interested in all vintage computers if you have anything else, because I want to keep my name and he knows I'm still interested,
Yeah, fresh in his mind.
It's called I'm working the deal. So anyway, Sunday morning, I hear a message come in. I'm like, bam, this is it. This is it right here. It was you. I was like, son of a gun, 6:30 in the morning. I can't remember what you messaged me about.
Oh, I was like, have you played Popeye yet? It's pretty rad.
No, it's not what it was. So then about 5 minutes later at 6:40, bam, message. I'm like, that's it. I'm in. And it was him. He's like, listen, are you available today? I was like, hell yeah. So then he starts saying, well, I've got this other stuff too. I'm like, well, what do you got? Well, I made a bulk deal, $300 deal, all right? And not that I can't name everything I got, but what I ended up getting out of this deal was I got that, as you see on the screen, a big, huge box of cables.
Big crate of cords.
I got the Amiga 1000 Sans keyboard cord. I've got to find a replacement keyboard cords. That has killed me on that until I get one. But anyway, I got 6 mice.
Can you use a phone?
No.
No.
I mean, there's a gimmick where you can jury rig something, but I haven't done it. I got 6 tank mice, a couple mystery mice. One fella said they thought one was a C64 mouse. I got an Amiga 500. I got an Amiga 500 power supply and the video thing you hate that comes out the back. I got some Amiga 500 sidecar with a hard drive in it. I got 2 side things for the Amiga 1000 that give it a SCSI drive and I think it was a Supra drive card, and then the a 2 meg upgrade memory thing that goes on the side. I got a slew of cables. I got a 1084S monitor, and I got a 1080 monitor, which is a real old Amiga monitor. I got get this, I got a 5 1/4 inch Amiga floppy drive.
Wow.
Which I've never actually had one of those, but I've seen them. And so anyway, he threw in this C64 he had and this other gimmick. He's like, yeah, I've been getting a lot of calls about this thing, but I don't feel like shipping it. And this thing weighs about 30 pounds. And what it is a C64 hard drive, external hard drive. It weighs a ton. I've been told these things I know they're beyond rare.
Yeah.
And the C64 is gimmicked up with a weird port on it to accommodate this hard drive. So this is a special C64 drive. I got in that power supply. I got all this for $300 and plus some other stuff. I can't remember what else I got. It was a heck of a bargain. And so when I got this stuff home, I took I took Brent. I said, Brent, come over and help me load this stuff up. And then we were loading it in the arcade. I'm like, let's just shoot a video of looking through it. And that's what we did. And so if you want to watch it, you can go check it out.
Look at that.
That's right. Yeah, Eric, it's a monster hard drive, buddy.
And as if one mega unboxing wasn't enough, here in the chat with us right now, Roushi MSX, our buddy Randall, sent us 5 boxes of glorious Spectrum, C64, and Amiga goodness.
Oh man, it was a happening there. That was a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. So it took me, I actually did a 4-part video series on this because one, my internet kept going out.
It was like The Stand.
Yeah.
Which is it was like 8 hours of continual unpacking.
It was a special television event.
Yeah.
But man, he sent us tons and tons of awesome stuff. Great boxed Amiga software. Like I'm just unwrapping a copy of UFO Enemy Unknown. My favorite thing, which I unwrapped at the very end of the video, was Elite Frontier Elite 2. Actually open that bad boy up and talk about all the cool stuff that was inside of it, including the famous star chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the game you opened where it had all the cool like war stuff?
That was Campaign.
That looked tremendous. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
You also got the C32 version of this, which is awesome.
He sent us a big pile of CD32 games.
We'll have to break those out. I got the C32 at the house.
Yeah,
when I bring it over to Computer Club, it'll be fun time.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, Randall. We really, really appreciate it. And Aaron can testify that I've aligned everything up on the shelves quite
He has
neatly.
a hoard over there.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
he was very generous. He was very
absolutely,
and he's a super nice guy. I've been talking to him a lot in the Discord. He's a real super cool guy.
Yeah, yeah. And next up, Aaron, you want to talk a little bit about this week's ARG Presents?
We actually had a pretty good time this week, in spite of the games. This week we all decided we were playing games on the Super Graphics, which is sort of the sequel to the TurboGrafx 16 / Mega Drive or / PC Engine. And this system only had 5 released games, and so that limited us to what games we're going to pick. I picked a game called Alias, and he picked a game called Battle Ace. And we just sort of went over the system, went through it. We had a good time. I wouldn't rush out and buy one of these, if I were you. Save your money, go out and get yourself an Aquarius computer. I think that's where the money would be. But hey, it had a bigger library. But we had a good time.
Are those Atari symbols up there?
They do sort of look like Atari symbols. And this week we got a real wacky one going. If you want to join us live Sunday for those in the chat room, we're going to be doing the Emerson Arcadia 2001.
I'm really looking forward to that. The more obscure, the better.
This one is super duper obscure.
Yeah. And finally, just last night, I guess it's been 2 days ago according to YouTube, although I thought it was last night. Maybe it was 2 days ago.
There's the intricate opening menu.
Right. I actually entered Globule into the ranking of Amiga platformers, and so you can see how it worked out on the spreadsheet there.
It was funny.
Yeah.
You had an instant disdain for this game from that first.
It wasn't a good first impression.
I never watched Boat's playthroughs until I've played the game. That way I could go back and cackle and delight and glee.
I'm glad to provide amusement.
It does.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So, as we move towards the end of the program.
Wait, I forgot one thing. Before we get out of the videos, our good buddy, the Huck, the Huckster, he's got a couple videos out. And he's got 3 videos out that are very good. We missed one of his Amiga videos from a couple weeks ago, which was great. But he's got another series of 2 videos out on this crazy system from Australia. It's the darndest thing I've ever seen. This system, and it's got it's sort of like an Intellivision, right? But I think it's called the Dick. Is it the Dick Smith Wizard?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that before.
And it's the Wizard, but here's the bit I like. So think of the Intellivision with the 2 paddle controllers that are like little things.
Yeah.
In this thing, in the Intellivision, you sit them in this little tray, right? On this one, you set down the tray, and it makes a QWERTY keyboard.
That's fantastic.
On each one of.
What an idea!
But he's not only and. This thing, he's got an external keyboard for it and a tape drive, and he actually hooks it up and puts it all together and loads stuff on tape. And when you're loading the demos, Dick is talking to you because it's got this. It's got like two layers.
An extra layer.
I've never seen that. It was
I
awesome.
think that's fantastic.
It was awesome. So,
like, can you imagine, like, when you press play on a tape for like a Spectrum, you just hear this British voice come on and say, "You ready for action?"
He's Australian.
No, I mean, I'm talking about if it was a Spectrum or whatever.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So if you haven't subscribed to Gary Hucker's YouTube channel, I strongly recommend it.
Talk about a missed marketing. I mean, think about all the licensed titles. If you would have had James Bond talking to you, or Q talking to you while you're loading the game.
I wonder why that didn't happen.
I don't
didn't know you could even do that.
Because I think that the Spectrum was also a multi-layered tape deal too.
Have other systems done that before?
We'll have to. If you know of any other systems that do that, leave us a comment.
I wonder if that's how the 2XL works. The robot. That's, I mean, I guess it's not because it doesn't use data. It's all voice. But this was something remarkable as it loaded up. And it would give you instructions. Here's what you can do. And it's the guy himself talking. That's what made
fantastic.
it better.
I love
I fully endorse the Huck. He's doing a great job.
Well, I'll tell you what I fully endorse. The people that make this show happen. All of our sponsors out there. Last week, Aaron, we had two winners. The name of the song was Tonight from West Side Story. I know one of your favorite films.
I recognize part of that, but I didn't know the name.
Well, there's a whole suite. I sort of incorporated. It was sort of like the symphonic dances from West Side Story.
It was something.
Pac Billy, congratulations, and Terry Howard.
That's amazing that they got that. Because I mean, you butchered whatever that was.
No, it was fantastic. It was CD quality. It was Red Book. Red Book.
It was multi-layered tape quality.
I want to welcome our new Amigos Game Selection Committee member this week, Aaron. Reflection.
Ooh.
Norway's finest.
Cool name, too.
Yeah, he was sort of one of the progenitors of the cracking scene over there.
Ooh,
I think
progenitor.
Yeah.
Man.
I want to say, I think we actually mentioned him last week because we talked about this whole thing.
You can't mention him enough.
But yeah, he's a really, really cool guy, and we're glad to have him on board. So, anyway, if you know the answer to this week's supporter song, then give us a ring over.
No, don't do that.
Over at john@amigospodcast.com.
You could do. You could be like Flack and get the Amigos hotline.
We did. You remember when we had the voicemail?
No.
And we took calls from the voicemail.
Oh, I remember that. But I mean, it's not like Flack had that number.
No, we
years.
had the number too.
Do we still have it?
Yeah, I don't remember what it is. I tried to
we
come
need
up.
to get that back up. The Amigos hotline.
Yeah, I tried to come up with a like a catchy like name, you know, like Giant Bombs is 1877 Exit Flu. Yeah. Which is it's pretty great. I mean, you can remember it, but I couldn't think of any like snappy.
You know what we had to do, Bode? Remember back when the wrestling days, it was the 1-900-909-9900, and there would be news. You could go, hey, this week we should record some like stuff that you could call and listen to. Like, it'd be the ultimate cool guy news. And only people that call the line can hear it.
That would be awesome. And then have a little thing at the end where they can leave a message.
And then what we'll do is, like, when they call, be like, hey, this is Boat, this is Aaron. And our special message this week is like, I ate a donut. and then bam, they can leave the message.
That'll be $4.99, please.
That's right.
All right, so here we go. Reflection, Simon.
Oh, man.
Crispy kilobytes and caffeine. Deckard, Threepwood, Gary, Heather. Kate Fox, David Pickford. Cameron Armstrong. Lobsterminator. 10-minute Amiga Retrocast. Counting virtual sheep. Bernard Quinn. Retro Man Cave. Tim Drew. Simon Rose. Joseph Harrison. Kyle Letta. Rob O'Hara. Howard Nibbs. Matthew Limbaugh. Andy Craig. Sean Darren Lomax. Colin 419. Bark Bid. Roland Burke. Andrew Monks. Joe the Zombie. John Cook. Leaf Killon. Alan Kebab. Chicote. Level Lord. John Marshall, Matthew Barrow, Ricky the Rocher, Biggie CTZ, the Slow Norris Stefan, Edvin Helen, Christopher Hassel. Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher. Graham Bebb, Keelane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro Vintage, Gary Huckasee, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Ned, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbert, Star, Daniel Bingston, Brutal, Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Wards, Pixels of Dawn, and Kelbjorn Barman. You had to know that.
I thought you were just having some sort of fit. I don't know what happened there.
No.
I don't know what that was.
That was art.
That was
That's
art?
what that was.
I've got nothing to say. I'm dumb. You about blew my eardrum out.
See, Pixels knows what's up.
Well, listen, Pixels, you need to go get mental health.
Aaron, next week we're gonna play a game that's very similar to your life.
Oh.
It's called Covert Action.
Oh yeah, man, everything on the down low.
That's why when you were making that deal with the Amigas, it was all Covert Action, man.
You got that right.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you that came along in the chat this evening with us.
There's a lot of luminaries in here.
Yeah, there are. Pixels at Dawn is with us. Curtis Boyle, Neville Overman, a.k.a. Leif. Angus Arthur.
Ooh.
Did you like that?
I did.
Samwise is here. Sharkin. Duncan Styles. Necronom is in the house. Free lunch, 10-minute Amiga Retrocast. Fair Fight 14, Wowshe MSX, and of course Picard 2005. Thank you guys so much
Eric
for
Nelson in the house.
hanging out
There's
with
a lot
us.
of people.
Yeah,
in there.
absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We do record the show live every Friday at around 5:30.
Never fails.
Never
bro.
fails.
We've never missed a show.
Yeah.
We've never missed one, but we're
not always at 5:30.
Yeah.
But anyway, make sure you check out our sister shows, ARG Presents and Our Sinclair. If you'd like to subscribe to the Coco Show or any of our shows, they are available on podcatchers everywhere.
Yeah. Even if you don't like the Coco, just sign up. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll go get our Coco one. That's going to be awesome. I saw one of the fellas was just saying that they did that talking over tape thing with the Coco. They had a thing. Yeah,
cool.
So there you go,
That'll
man.
be something we can talk about on the new show. But next week, we'll be playing some Covert Action, so we'll see you then. Until then, adios.
And that was a brutal one there, Boat.
What are you talking about?
Your song. My God.
Oh,
man.
man. It's so good.
Did you level the hammer on the new Amiga? My God, that's why I was like, my God, like this thing's a piece of garbage.
Well,
Everyone involved in it's crap. I was like, no, Bo, no.
I wasn't going to go hard on it, but then you stopped me when I was going to get started.
I was trying to protect you from
then,
yourself.
And then as you were talking, I was thinking about more things I hated.
You get very heated about these things, Boat.
Well, it's just
Don't be mad.
It seems like so much, and I understand.
You're not an Amiga hobbyist.
I understand. It's not
Hardware
for me.
hobbyist.
But man,
Actually, this thing would be perfect for you if it wasn't for the price.
For $700, I want something that looks rad on the
I know.
shelf.
It looks cool, guy. It's got a cool vampire thing on it.
Man, it looks like a freaking deck of playing cards with some cords hanging out.
Think of the amount of technology in that deck.
Okay, think about the amount of technology in my phone.
Well, I'm just saying. Listen, if you look at it that way, it makes you
Yeah.
look like sort of like a jerk.
Give me that. Give me the Atari 1200 XL.
No.
I already have it. That's all I
I
need.
just say you got it.
Yeah.
This is why we don't have this newfangled stuff because we're happy with our old stuff.
That's true. We're
I'll sit down. I'll play the crap out of it. You know what I played the crap out of? Just played the crap out of it when on the PC. I got the PC sort of doctored up so I can use it. Jumpman Returns. Have you ever played this game?
No.
It's the sequel to. It's the direct sequel to Jumpman.
What about Jumpman Jr.?
No, this is. Listen, screw all that.
Okay.
That's all in there plus the kitchen sink. This is gold. I don't ever hear anybody talk about Jumpman Returns. It's awesome. But I'll sit around and play Jumpman Returns. I don't need a bunch of crazy stuff.
You know what we did?
I like the simple stuff, man. Simple's good, man.
We didn't mention
opinion.
this. I guess we can just mention it on the next show when it's actually here. But we didn't mention the SGI computer.
Well, that's
in the
a
hall.
secret. Not to mention you don't want to queer the deal. Wait till I get the money
That's true.
set down.
That's true.
You know, you never know that guy could be watching.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
You never know. All right, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
I've got a little thing on Popeye this week too.
Great.
Will you impersonate Popeye at some point?
Absolutely. The whole show in Popeye.
No. Did you ever watch old cartoons? Well, we'll talk
about it. All right, give me a hearty ho.
Ho!
Okay.
Like Hacksaw Duggan.
Yeah.
Tough guy.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Why did he say tough guy?
That's just what he was a big, dumb, weird guy with a 2x4. That's why. You ask him. I don't know.
Where do you think Vince found Hacksaw?
I know where he found him. Mid-South Championship Wrestling, where he had the entire gimmick ready to go. And Vince was like, I'll steal that guy. And he did.
Did Vince do most of the recruiting back then?
Who knows?
Why is this like that?
Hey, this is our Amiga Ireland control center.
Yeah.
I'm Lord Alfred Hayes.
That's. Oh, I see. I see what's happened.
This is Specky Popeye. Yes. Yes, it is. No. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
I was surprised. And the thing is, I'd see pictures of this floating around over the years.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever figure out about the Car Wars? I saw it just pop up there.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that on the show. All right, so here we go. Nope.
Here we don't go. You get that? I knew it. I knew it.
Just,
you always want to make that thing too big.
It's too big. Yeah. Well, I just
put it at the bottom.
Oh. I don't know. It makes
just put it directly over our eyes.
It makes our slant seem even more slanted.
Are we slanty? What? Hello, everyone.
I like having it up top.
Up top.
It never stops.
After the show, you got to tell me what that song was, because I can't wait a week to hear what.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Popeye, the Sailor Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, tell me about your first experience with Popeye.
Easy. I was a young Aaron back in the Disney, and I used to watch a lot of cartoons, Boat. I know this is a stunning revelation. And Popeye cartoons were amongst my favorite young Aaron cartoons. Now, there are several different flavors of your Popeye cartoons. You got your Max Fleischer, like old cartoons. Yeah. And then you've got sort of the I guess it'd be the 60s or late 50s, 60s version. Those are the ones I like. Then when you get past that, you get these more modern ones. Screw all that.
You get the young Popeye.
No.
Teen Popeye.
Get all that out. It's a lot like the Flintstones. If they're not the classic episodes, then screw them. I'm not interested, because then they get real stupid. All right. I like the Popeye of that 60s.
Do you prefer Bluto or Brutus?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it's funny. There's a legal reason why that they changed it. It's real convoluted and weird.
Do you know the story?
I don't. It's so convoluted I can't remember, but I did read up on it. Yes, I read up on Popeye, and in fact I read some stuff about him today. But I love Popeye. I thought it was amusing. It had tons and tons of good wholesome violence. Popeye whacking dudes and making it like a pinball machine. Popeye flying around by his pipe. It had crazy characters. You had Wimpy, all right? Can you? Did you watch Popeye?
Oh
show?
yeah.
So then none of these are unusual. You got Wimpy, right?
Yep.
You know what's his saying? Do you remember saying?
I'll trade you a hamburger today for tomorrow Tuesday.
No, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
That's what I said.
He's conning people. You got Olive Oil, right? You got Bluto/Brutus. You got Poop Deck Pappy.
I'm not familiar
That's
with
Popeye's 99-year-old dad. Poop Deck Pappy.
I think that was a later.
Then you had no. He's been around forever.
Wasn't that Robin
You
Williams?
had the Goons. You had Alice the Goon.
Or is she the witch?
No,
that was the sea hag.
That was the sea hag. Then you had Sweet Pea. That's the baby.
Yeah. Where did the baby come from? Is the baby
the
Popeye's
baby was
a
child that was just delivered to Popeye to take care of.
Oh.
Yeah, and now Olive Oil often will be pictured with, but that way in the comic books, he just showed up at the door. And this used to happen all the time apparently in the 20s, because Popeye's been around since like 1929, I believe it was. And then you got the Jeep. Remember the Jeep?
The Jeep is
Eugene,
the
dog,
magical
right? Jeep. It's not a dog. He's a Jeep. He's got a long, straight tail. He's got he's magical.
Okay.
And so that's where they got Jeeps. The name for Jeeps came from him. They also Wimpy. They named an airplane after Wimpy.
Really?
So these are popular.
Did you know there's a hamburger chain in the UK called Wimpy's?
I've heard that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I was reading today that the Popeye comic strip was so popular that during World War II, where Mussolini banned all American literature from coming to Italy, the people rose up and demanded, and they got it over that they brought back Popeye. They would not live without Popeye. That's how popular he was.
Wow.
The original Donkey Kong was supposed to be a Popeye game that they could not secure the rights to, so Nintendo put out Donkey Kong, and then they put out Popeye afterwards, which is the great game.
And interesting trivia that I'm sure you know. Soon after they put that out, Nintendo lost the rights, that they'd acquired from King Feature Syndicate, and they've never made an attempt to reacquire them, which is why Popeye has never been reissued.
It is a shame. It is a shame that because that's a great game, and Popeye as a character has diminished in popularity, I would say. But people still sort of know who he was. He got his own pinball machine, and that was one of the later released pinball machines.
Wasn't that 90s. Based on the Robin Williams movie?
No, it was not. But he did get that wacky film. Have you ever seen that movie?
When I was small, it scared me.
It scared me too, but not for the same reasons it scared you. I was more appalled. I will say Shelley Duvall was a perfect. Not Shelley Duvall. Who was it that played Olive Oil? It was the same girl that was in The Shining. Help me out, somebody. Anyway, she was the perfect chick to play. Actually, they got the casting down pretty well in that. I have to say, I thought they did a good job. Charles M. Schultz was quoted as saying Popeye was the perfect comic strip, and he would know a few things.
It's funny. I don't think that I've ever read a Popeye comic strip. I only know him from the cartoons.
How many comic strips have you read? Period, that were in like the paper. Were you a paper guy? I'm not putting you down.
Yeah, but I don't know you where gotta realize. Fell. I mean, Ziggy. The classics. Ziggy, Garfield, Your Family Circus,
right.
And Peanuts.
See, when I grew up, some of the old stuff that was still in there. So Popeye I read every day. He was in there. Dagwood, Blondie.
Yeah.
Blondie,
I read that
there,
stuff, but I never saw Popeye.
Yeah, Popeye was in there, man. He was in there with Prince Valiant.
Did you ever read any of those cereal strips? To me, that was just the biggest waste of paper, like Prince Valiant or the Phantom.
Well, Spider-Man had one, but I mean they're so short you can't get a lot out of them.
Yeah.
Now when they collected them in a book or something, I mean you got to think Popeye. I think I read that his strip ran from 29. Now, he debuted in 29, but he was just a character as part of another thing. But he got popular, and he sort of basically took over the strip. Mm-hmm. And he ran from, effectively, he started in 29, and they ran a weekly comic or a daily into, the 70s, I think it was. And then it went to weekend Popeye at that point. But, I mean, that's a long time to run. And most people know about the gimmick with the spinach and stuff. I mean, where would spinach, the industry of spinach, be without Popeye? They'd be screwed. No one would be eating that disgusting stuff. I am, Yeah. He's a cool character. He's been in the series of plenty of games and
Who is the creator of Popeye?
It's funny you should mention that guy. I've got his name right here because I didn't know it either. So he was.
It is Shelley Duvall, according to the chat.
Great. I thought I had a moment of questioning that I should have known. The creator was a person named Elzie Chrysler Cigar, right? It was a gentleman that drew him, and one of the cigars, SEGAR, one of his trademarks, he would, instead of signing his strip, he'd put a little cigar picture in there.
Oh.
It's his gimmick, pretty good.
I like it.
But yeah, so think about that, though. Cigar died in 1938.
Wow.
And Popeye was already, and when he died, they said Popeye was so popular, he was already making $100,000 a year.
Boy.
And that's in the 30s.
That's crazy.
So and that was before Popeye really got the animated stuff kicked off. King Syndicate, which I believe, didn't you say you won a trivia contest over
I
there?
did. I was getting ready to mention that.
I knew it. I knew it was going to come up.
Every time we talk about Popeye, I've got to mention that at Classic Gaming Expo 2003 in Las Vegas, I won the Jeopardy competition with the final answer being Popeye.
Very good.
And I won the Ark the Lad collection for the PlayStation 2.
You still have it?
No. In fact, I traded it before I even left the show because I was like, I'm in a retro gaming show. What do I want this PS2 game? So I traded it for a Famiclone.
Made the right decision, which you now don't have.
Right. I sold
none
that
of your
immediately.
stuff, it's all gone. Yeah. But anyway, Popeye, a long and illustrious career in strips, movies, TV, and a very popular character now again. And you never know. I'm
waiting for Popeye the musical.
Well, get this. It's been in the works for a while, but they're in the works with an animated Popeye film. It's going to be like computer animated, like Toy
CG,
Story.
Yeah.
It's been in the works for a while. And I believe it's 2008. In 2018, they were talking about finding director and stuff for it. So it'll probably get something. And Popeye, they're gonna always bring back that nostalgic stuff. So so people can introduce their kids to it. My kid likes Popeye, and my favorite thing about the old cartoons is that Popeye, the real old ones, the old ones before I really got into it, I don't like them as much. But one thing I like is Popeye, and him continuously complains. He's always under his breath.
He's always grumbling.
Oh, I'll tell you something. Nonstop. And I thought to myself, I'd love to see the voice actor who just sits on his mic and just perpetually complains and makes noise for like a 5-minute short. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, that is interesting. I did want to mention a quick piece of feedback from last week, Aaron. Last week you mentioned the game Car Wars.
Yeah, man, yeah.
And Eric Nelson actually wrote in and he said that he actually owns Car Wars.
Yep, I've got a copy of it myself.
And then somebody replied to him saying that they own the whole collection of those games, which
those were Steve Jackson games.
Yeah.
If you know him.
Oh, here we go. It was Foz Tex.
Oh man,
has the entire collection.
Now, hold that up.
Now,
now Illuminati is my game. All right, I'm the king. I'm the crown prince of Illuminati. Not that collectible crap. I'm talking the old school Illuminati. Now, Ogre, I used to own that, and I've never owned that Car Wars, but I owned the book version of it. But Steve Jackson games, amongst his biggest claim to fame is probably he was the guy that had GURPS, the generic universal role-playing system, which GURPS is very popular and still is pretty popular. And also, Steve Jackson, one of the few guys can say his shop got raided by the FBI. So
why?
It's a long story. Well, sort of. Yeah, it's a long story. That's a whole crazy story.
I reckon that he's made more money off Munchkin than anything he's ever done.
I believe he passed on, but I'd say you're probably right.
Yeah.
Somebody can stop me if he's not. If not, I like him.
So anyway, sorry for that detour, Aaron.
That's okay.
Let's keep talking Popeye.
So let's talk about Popeye. Now, I mentioned that Nintendo released a tremendous Popeye game. One of the premier NES games, a great arcade game. And so when this was announced as Popeye for the Spectrum, I was like, oh boy. Because I've been playing a lot of Popeye on the Coco. As you know, I love that, the Sailor Man, which is a ripoff. And so I loaded this up, and when it came up, I'm like, what in God's name is this? Well, then I remembered I had seen photos of this.
Really? And so you'd actually come into contact somehow with this game.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, man, what is that? Crazy thing. And so that crazy thing's our game this week, Popeye. So this came out for the Specky in '85 boat. Now, I did this just for fun. This was developed by an outfit called DKtronics, which is basically, from what I could tell, it looked like it was the designer's outfit. I mean, they may have done other stuff. The designer of this was Don Priestley, which I'll get to him in a minute. But I looked at some of the stuff they had done. They did Senta Bug. They did Galactians.
I'm sensing a theme here.
They did Jaws. They did Munchman. And my personal favorite, Trom. Trom. You
can even stylize that in the right font.
Yeah.
And just change
although it doesn't look anything like Tron, so I was disappointed. And the funny thing is, they did Centibug, but they also did Centipede. So I don't know what happened. Maybe someone saw their.
Maybe it was like Miss Pac-Man, where they hired the guys that did the clone to do the real thing.
I love it. I love that. Now, let's talk about the fellow that put this thing together. His name is Don Priestley. He's pretty famous for a couple of his games. Now, the game that he is super famous for is a game called Through the Trapdoor or Trapdoor.
Lots of people on Discord talking about Trapdoor.
Right. Now, I have never played it.
Me neither.
I've never seen it. I know it was was it featured on a show? Or did it have a show or something about it? There's something going on with the Trapdoor, and I'm sure we'll get to it. I didn't want to spoil it, so I didn't look into it. But the thing that I found interesting, and amongst his titles that he worked on, he worked on a lot, and they developed a ton of games. I just named a few. He worked on Spawn of Evil, City Patrol, Sabotage, Flunky, my personal favorite, but my favorite of all these, and it lines up with this game perfectly. He did the Benny Hill Madcap Chase game. Now, you know I'm a big Benny Hill fan.
Yeah.
And so I had read that this game shared a lot in common with the Benny Hill game. So I looked, and they look very similar. The Benny Hill game has got the big sprites and stuff. So one of these days, if we ever play the Benny Hill game, that'll be fun. And the Benny Hill game looks like one of those games where he steals stuff and then people chase him around. That's the way it should be. And also, if you have I believe you have the 128K spec. Now, someone may have just doctored it in, but there was a pretty rousing version of Benny Hill's song.
Yakety Sax.
Yakety Sax. So that was good. But anyway, so getting back to this game, this had released, this version of Popeye had releases on the
Amstrad, and the C64 as well. This was a 48K speccy game. And this originally retailed, according to World of Spectrum, for £6.95p, and then budgeted for about £3. So the usual sort of title on these. I didn't look at these on the Amstrad or the C64, but I'm wagering they're probably pretty similar.
I would think so.
Given what this one looks like. So, what in God's name am I looking at here? What is this Popeye game? Because it's going to take some explanation, isn't it, Bode?
It is.
Now, you had not played this or seen it, right?
No.
So, this is from the back of the cassette. I'm going to go to this because this gives you a good idea. Hey, I can't help it. So, life's not all a bowl of spinach for Popeye as he hunts for hearts to win the love of olive oil. His rival, the macho Brutus, is not amused. He thumps around making pulp at Popeye. Olive oil demands a never-ending supply of love. That's my favorite line. Get that on a shirt. Olive oil demands a never-ending supply of love. Keep her sweet by collecting 25 scattered hearts and handing them over. Take care to check Olive's love-o-meter. When her love level starts to fade, you must restore it by delivering some of your hearts that you have collected. So that is the game.
Yeah.
You've got to run around this multi-screened area, playfield. World, that's better. And collect these hearts. Now, that sounds sort of like the arcade game. I can tell you right now, this, if you're not watching this or you haven't played this is zero like the game. In terms of play mechanics.
Yeah.
But you pop
Well,
out.
I mean, you are gathering hearts.
Right, but I'm talking the actual play mechanics totally different. So the first thing you're going to see is a giant screen full of stuff. You got Popeye, a big, huge, the graphics on this are easily the best we've seen on the Spectrum, bar none.
They might be some of the best graphics I've ever seen on an 8-bit computer.
And there's the color clash is gone. There's none. How the heck did they do this?
No idea.
Popeye looks like Popeye.
Yeah.
He's got his forearms are huge. He's got tattoos. He's got his hat and his pipe. And he even looks dumb.
Yeah.
When he stands there, he just makes dumb faces like an
It's
idiot.
just like the
Which is what
cartoon.
Popeye did. That's what made Popeye great. He's a big fool. Brutus lumbers around like a big mean jerk. You've got the sea hag. She flies through occasionally. You've got her vulture. I can't remember if the vulture had a name or her buzzard, whatever that thing was. I don't remember if it had a name or not, but he's in it. Again, much like the video game that Nintendo put out. All these characters are in there. But Popeye, his big, huge, sprited butt, walks around, and you try to collect these hearts on these various screens. What makes this game, amongst the things that make it unique, of course, the fact that you're looking at, like we're looking at this played right now, Popeye, the sprite of Popeye is a solid over a third of the screen.
Yeah.
In terms of height. He's huge. All the sprites are huge. So you lumber your guys around this world and try to collect these hearts. Now, what makes this game really bizarre is that there is depth to it. Okay, so you may be on a screen where you can go through a doorway and you'll go up a ladder, for example, or upstairs. And if a bad guy touches you in this, they knock you down. So if they go past you when you're on another plane, they just go right by. That is the crux of the game that makes it difficult to understand until you play it a lot. And even then, it's very, very difficult.
Even then, it's a little iffy sometimes, the collision.
Yes, that's true. In fact, you'll be certain that you didn't die and then you die or get hurt. So Popeye has on the right-hand side of the screen, you've got an inventory of slots. I believe you've got 8 slots. And in these slots, you can put keys, you can put spinaches, and you can put hearts. Okay. Unlike the Nintendo version of Popeye, where you take a spinach, you just go around beating the tar out of a Bluto. In this, basically, spinaches get Popeye up. They wake him up.
Right.
If you run out of spinach and you get thumped, you're done.
It's
game over. So they're almost like your men or whatever. Keys just do what you think they do. They open doors. And hearts are the love that you've got to supply Olive Oil, her never-ending need for her love. Olive Oil is the ultimate needy date. Like, she needs you to, and which is somehow apropos for the cartoon, because she's like that in the cartoon too, but she always is the center of attention all the time. This little string bean of a woman. So what you've got to do is you've got to gather these hearts. The hearts aren't just out where you can grab them right away. You've got to go work for them. that means you've got to scale stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to unlock doors to get to them. You've got to ride.
This is really
stuff.
the Crackdown 2 of the Specky.
Yeah. How do you figure?
Well, did you ever play Crackdown?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, you got to gather the orbs that are placed in all the different crazy places in the world.
I don't remember it.
Okay.
But I mean, I believe it's. I mean, it ain't like Bruce Lee,
No.
where the stuff just hanging out.
No.
You got to go get these things, and they're not easy to get. So Popeye can get these things, and he's okay. He can fall, nothing hurts him until something touches him. If something touches him, it's his butt. Now let's talk about your enemies. We mentioned some. You've got Bluto walking around, or Brutus, and he just lumbers around.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll get back to him. Then you've also got the Vulture. Then you've got the Sea Hag. Then you've also got a Sleeping Dragon, which I don't remember that from the comic, but maybe he was in there. I don't know.
Maybe he was a special episode.
Yeah. So, and he'll light you up, and that's a whole. I'll get to him. So you've got aside from your inventory, you've got this love-o-meter on the side. This tells you how much olive oil loves you. Okay. You don't want this thing to get down to nothing or your bone. So what you've got to do is once you gather some hearts, you've got to come back to where Olive's at. Her torso sticking out her house window, and you've got to when you go up to her and push towards her, you'll give her love.
Right.
Now, it's not graphic, but I mean,
No.
you give her some love. I don't know what that means.
Well,
Maybe you're smooching her.
have you seen the end of the game?
I have. But this is the preliminary.
It gets real blue.
This is
at
the
end.
preliminary.
Yeah.
This is some preliminary love. Maybe he's giving her a smooch or I don't know what. But then you've got to go out and get more love because she's an insatiable, love-needing beast. So all these characters that you come across are on a certain plane, and they can't leave that plane.
Right.
The only one that can is Brutus, who can actually move into another plane. To
I
whack
didn't
you.
realize
Yeah,
that.
he can. Now, if you're like me, that didn't come into play too much because I didn't have any trouble getting killed by him on a normal plane. I found this game difficult to the point of pushing me past being frustrated. I would get angry, I'd get upset. The fact that you can't fight back was irritating. I would love to have popped someone in the face.
Yeah. That's probably the biggest shortcoming of this game is that you, as Popeye, the ultimate fighting machine, has no offensive capability.
Yeah. Popeye is quite a puss in this, actually. Anything kills him. And if you're unlucky, for example, there's a sleeping dragon in a scene. If you get too close to him, he'll fire you. And if you've got a spinach, you'll get back up. And then the second you get back up, he'll fire you again until you're dead, unless you have more spinach. There's a couple places where you'll just be killed, and if you'll just instantly get killed again. Like, also, if you're just unlucky enough to have one of the bad guys come lumbering through after you just took your spinach, you're dead again. So having an extra spinach on hand does not necessarily mean you're going to be okay to get killed once. You can just get killed a lot.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating. The game is slow as molasses. I mean, one thing about having guys this big is that they are mega slow.
Yeah. That is to me, that is the unforgivable aspect of this game. I can live with everything else that the game throws at me or does right or does wrong. But the way that you as Popeye plod along the world is just, it's unbearably slow.
I mean, thankfully, everything else is slow too.
Right.
Or otherwise you'd be screwed, but it doesn't make it more fun.
After I sort of got my fill of playing this, I went onto YouTube and was watching the playthrough. Because one thing about this game is that I did want to see everything that the game had. Every single screen is sort of varied enough that you're like, oh, that's kind of neat. Especially when you consider the limitations of a 48K Spectrum.
Yeah.
And what I found is that running this game at 2 times the normal speed on YouTube
I was going to mention that.
made it perfect. If they could have just figured out how to make the game run that fast, man, it would have been great.
Spectrum next.
Yeah.
We need a turbo button. I agree. It's so slow that it's unbelievable. And that's not what makes the game difficult. It just makes the game tedious because once you die and start a new game, you know it's going to take you forever to get all the crap back.
You've got to
that you already
retrace
got.
all of your steps again.
Now, if you're a patient lad in 1985 and this comes down to your house and you're like, holy crap, look at this. You're going to have the patience that an old jerk like me doesn't have because I'm old and I don't want to wait forever to get Popeye lumbering around. On top of that, this game requires, for a game this slow, it requires a pretty good amount of timing and paying attention. This isn't this is certainly not a platformer. This is, I don't know what, a strategic adventure game where you have to time everything with with where villains are because you can't actually hurt anyone.
Right.
And so you've got to run a lot. You've got to be strategic in where you go.
Mm-hmm.
There were some areas that I watched in the walkthrough that I don't know how I could have ever figured out how to get to them.
Yeah.
They looked really hard.
Just tons and tons of trial and error.
How many hearts did you end up getting before you tapped out on this?
Oh, I can't remember. I mean, I got around enough to where, like, in the next building over from this screen, I went down by the ship and stuff like that. But I really wasn't exactly sure how the hearts impacted the love meter. I didn't figure that out until as I was watching the playthrough, I was able to sort of glean more about the game.
Yeah, if you don't keep the love meter going, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to it. So you get killed. There's a part of this where you'll go underwater. There's like a pirate ship you go on. There's a UFO.
The wackiest thing is the slot machine.
That is why I didn't actually get to that, but I saw it in the playthrough, where you have to basically get one of the hearts out of the slot machine.
Now I'll tell you what's cool is that when you climb to the top of the lighthouse in this game, there is an enemy that's flying around it.
Yeah.
And the way that they graphically represent the passing of the enemy in and out of the plane and the way that they draw the lighthouse is very ingenious.
This game was sort of ahead of its time, or maybe it was a little bit ahead of what the Specky could graphically do. It would make sense to a viewer because this is a game you really have to play this in a weird mindset because the depth is unseeable. I mean, it really is. I mean, you'll be certain you're going to get killed, and a guy will walk right past you. That's because they just had to be on another level than you, and it's not always. You're not always sure which way you can go.
Right.
Now
I'll tell you, this, I can't say enough how good this game looks. I mean, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast and you don't know what Popeye for the Spectrum looks like, look it up because it's unbelievable how good the sprites look. And if I would have had this for the Atari, I probably would have played a lot of it because I would have realized that, okay, you don't have any offensive weapons, so it's not necessarily a reflex-based game. Everything that you can figure out, like you said, it's like a puzzle adventure game, sort of. I think that with a map and with enough time, if you draw out where everything is, you could figure out the puzzles.
And I think there's some replayability here, even if you did have the answers, but I mean, because you have to get the timing right and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All that said, this is not a game I will probably go back and play. I found it so slow and frustrating that I was like, I just don't think I want to get into it that much. As much as I like Popeye and as much as I'm impressed, the fact that this doesn't have any color clash, like I said, I would like somebody to explain how that works because, I mean, these are huge sprites we're looking at here. Maybe it's just a lack of stuff. Maybe that's something to do with the frame rate. Who knows what it is? But, I mean, it is impressive. And if you were to take this game and stick it on a box, people would.
Man.
I mean, I bet they sold a ton of these strictly on what the graphics look like.
I would have hoped that they would have put
the front
this
of the tape. I would just have a picture of Popeye in the game
and put actual game.
You could
footage.
put actual size.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can put it up to your TV. Like this is exactly what it looks like. Mm-hmm. Popeye is well drawn. All the guys are well drawn.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they're supposed to look, and they like Popeye walks around like an idiot.
And he's got an idle animation.
Yeah.
He sits there and makes faces at you when you're.
I mentioned that Benny Hill, the same fellow that did Benny Hill game. I watched that one, and Benny Hill runs a lot faster than this one. And Benny has a run animation that it's like if you ever watch the end of his shows where they have the crazy chase, and Benny runs around like an idiot. He runs sort of like they look almost like a bizarre rocket. He was running around, and it looks pretty funny. But I noticed that game runs a lot faster than this one. So I'm wondering if maybe
but the sprites
had less,
are just as big.
Yeah, they're just as big. I wonder if they had less going on, if it was. I don't know which came out first, to be honest with you. So I don't know if this. I think this was the first game like this that this fella did. Maybe Benny Hill came out second, but Benny Hill looked a lot quicker. So that'll be one to look at somewhere down the line. But overall, this is a nice technical achievement, and I'm sure at the time it was a lot of fun. But it's not one that I personally. Yeah. Will be heading back.
I admire it because, like you said, it's beautiful and it's different.
It's definitely different. Now, I looked up some reviews on this one, Boatster. The people over at World of Spectrum, they're a generous bunch, as you know. They gave this an 8.12, which is a pretty good score. I looked at Crash, and they gave this an 80%. They were confused by it. That's one of the reasons they decided that they had trouble with it. And they mentioned that the graphics were good, but they wish they'd been a little bit smaller so they could have seen more of the world, the screens. I can understand that. Sinclair user thought he was really slow,
Well,
and so
he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, well, I know you're not wrong, and so that was something they held against it. They weren't real super fond of it. Did we get anything on the Discord?
We
on this
did.
one?
Graham,
Holy moly, we got a lot.
Yeah, we got quite a few reviews on this one. Graham W. Vebke says, everything about this game is big. Big colorful sprites, big backgrounds, big slowdown, and big amounts of cheap shots. It's a multi-screen adventure game where you collect hearts and need to avoid getting attacked by witches, dragons, monsters, and of course, Globdule. It says it's pretty neat for its time of release to have perspective of entering buildings, opening doors, and climbing up and down ropes. Locked doors were annoying too, as you needed to trace back to find keys somewhere. And again, I got bashed by Globdule far too often and never had enough health. While I wasn't a big fan of the cartoon, it's an okay game, 5 out of 10.
Yeah, there's a lot of backtracking in this in there, but
yeah. Retro Enzo writes, in the day, I was a massive fan of the game Trapdoor as well as Flunky. Although I wasn't very good at Flunky, I'm very good at Flunky.
That's bad when you're no good at Flunky.
I completed Trapdoor over and over again, and it didn't lose any of its charm. Popeye is one of Don Priestley's first games with the big colorful sprites and charming characters. Popeye's gurning face is brilliantly reproduced, along with capturing Globdule and olive oil to a T. I should love it, but it's insanely difficult. Maybe I didn't get that far, but I thought Popeye's spinach eating gave him superpowers and didn't just revive him from being knocked out. It's impossible to work out where you are compared to Globdule or the bird, and I got randomly knocked out or killed by them too many times. Even following a walkthrough from the tipshop.co.uk, I found it insanely difficult and probably not one I'm going to return to again anytime soon. 2 out of 10.
Ouch.
Gristful says the graphics on this for the machine are amazing. The sound is what you kind of expect, and all the components of what could be a decent game are there, but the slowdown, layers don't quite work, and it's crazy hard. So glad he made Trapdoor and fixed all the faults with this system, but this ain't great. 4 out of 10. So I guess Trapdoor came
We
later.
got to play this Trapdoor.
Yeah. SpenceQLZX says, I didn't have time to play it. Oh, okay, never mind. Played it earlier, got into it. Runs a bit faster than the RSX or the RZX version of the Super Gold card, but the collision detection turned a few more hairs on my head gray. 5 out of 10.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, I did look this up on eBay, and as usual with the specky stuff, you can get this all day long between $2 and $7 US. So cheapy.
Yeah. Arc Leisure, he makes a great comparison. He says it's basically a colorful Game & Watch title. I mean, that's what it plays like. It plays like a Game & Watch title, don't you think? The speed of it.
It does play like a Game & Watch. There's a lot of crazy, almost frame by frame action like you would expect in one of those. So yeah, I can see the comparison.
We did have one more review. Sorry, I didn't scroll up far enough on the old Discord. Let me make sure Guys, we got to keep this channel clear on here. All right. No more reviews except for Pixels. A visually impressive game with a fun concept and huge cartoony sprites that are easily recognizable. Unfortunately, this is where the appeal ends. The sound is bad even for the Spectrum, and the gameplay is the very definition of plotting, making dodging enemies unpredictable. Popeye is oddly weak and relies on a layer system to avoid enemies, and yet it is basically impossible to tell what layer any character is on. I often got knocked down cheaply on screen transitions.
Yes.
Could have been so much better with a simpler, quicker graphics, but as it is, close to unplayable.
You know the screen.
3 out of 10.
When you die, and the screen fills with little Popeye logo.
Yep.
That sounds hideous.
Yeah. That makes you never want to die again.
Sound is it's very good at making you want to stay alive.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, I just want to remind everybody that might be listening that you can find the show on YouTube if you're listening to the audio version, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can subscribe to Our Sinclair on any of your favorite podcatchers. Make sure you check out our other shows. We've got Amigos, which is all about the Amiga, and we've got coming very soon, our first episode probably going to be next week, The Coco Show, all about the TRS-80 color computer by Radio Shack. So lots of things. And ARG Presents. I would never
Just
forget.
kicking that, just brushing that one to the side.
I
Aren't
would
you,
never
folks?
forget ARG
Oh
Presents.
yeah.
It's a winner.
What a ringing endorsement. Just trails off. Yeah, it's a winner.
It's special in its
I
own.
like it.
We got 2 new Spectrum supporters
Oh,
this
boy.
week, Aaron. We got Jeff Owen. Jeff spelled cool guy style like G off.
Oh, yeah, I
like
love
they do
that.
over
That's the
there.
best one, yeah.
I love that. Andrew Waite also became a supporter. Welcome. And a new Clives Club member, the one and only David Spencer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, guys. Everybody, thanks for joining up. We appreciate it.
And we want to thank all of our Spectrum supporters out there that support the show on Patreon. Andrew Waite, Jeff Owen, David Spencer, Cap'n Crispy, Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbo Knott, Graham Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, doing a great job moderating the YouTube chat, Chris Folds, Bossman Harrington, and Christopher Hassel. Thank you guys so much for supporting our Sinclair. Next week, Aaron, we're going to play another classic.
All right, another one, huh?
Just like Popeye. No, this one,
Is this one Donkey Kong?
This one's a legitimate classic.
All right.
A legitimate classic. Next week, we're going to play Chucky Egg.
Okay, outstanding. I'm looking forward to that because I had a cup of tea with that one back in the day, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. Until then, rewind tape.
And press play. All right.
All right.
Beautiful, man.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm excited about the Coco Show, too. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure we can come up with something good for a monthly. I can come up with some good stuff. I'm going to talk to you about that off air. I got a couple ideas.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, we're not gonna push our luck with the stream staying up. So
I
we're gonna
know.
go ahead
Yay.
and- yeah. It was aside from a few hiccups early on, it was mostly solid. So hopefully that will continue. We'll see you guys later on.
Adios.